Hello, hello, and welcome one and all to Swim or Sink 192. My name is Jolteon Jack, and I'll be one of your commentators today. I am joined by the lovely.
Hello everyone, I am Omazen, and I'm joining Jack tonight for SOS 192. And we got some fun games tonight, quite of course, but we also should probably just introduce ourselves briefly. Um, Jack, how have you been doing tonight?
I've been doing good. Been happy to be, in summer, having a good thing. Though the heat is killing me in every facet of the word. But I'm happy to be in the shade right now and get to some very cool
Heck yeah.
matches. How about you?
Yeah, I've been doing not too bad myself as well. I've gotten some good rest today, with a decent holiday weekend on the horizon, hopefully. But, with all that done and said, we have a game as well right now, of course, with Upcurrent going up against the Los Inklings. Two pretty long-term teams in the grand scheme of things when it comes to competitive Splatoon, and two very strong ones at that. Anything that particularly drags your eyes to this match here, Jack?
I recognize Los Inklings from previous experiences here in SOS. They're an excellent team to watch and to commentate, so I'm looking forward to that. Upcurrent, I'm not too familiar with, but I can't wait for a good show, especially since this is on Mako Mart Splat Zones, which is one of my favorite rotations in the game. I don't know how you feel about it, but as a Dynamo player,
Oh
I'm always
yeah.
happy when this map comes up.
Ooh, a Dynamo player. Oh, that's fun. Um, yeah, Mako Mart, I gotta agree. Definitely a really fun one, especially on zones. And as a decaf player myself, as I might add, I really like painting up that zone and putting that bubble on the ground. And you know what? I really hope that we see that action here as well. And from the looks of some of the comps here on both sides, it's not, the most unlikely thing to say that we might see a decaf come into the fray. But with all said and done, we have some other maps here as well following this with Clamblitz, Scorch Gorge, and Rainmaker Humpback. Of course, this first match in particular really is going to set the tone for what we can expect from both sides as well. Taking a look at some of the comps here, I'm seeing quite a few Slayers. We actually have a tent on the side of Upcurrent, which should be interesting to see
Oh,
how
tents are
Los
either
Inklings can play off that.
Tents are either the greatest team players or the thing that might hold a team down, and I'm looking forward to see this because I truly love watching good tents work right here. And hey, it will work on this map, especially Mako Mart, especially if you get them in those alleyways off the side, or the trenches as we like to call them. It can be very hard to get anywhere close to a tent umbrella, especially if they have good teamwork above and around them.
Agreed. And just that amount of space that it can quickly grab for itself is so valuable for a team, especially when you do have some of those sneaky slayers that do appear to be on their team, like a brush, swords, and dualies and whatnot. So looking forward to what they might be able to pull off there. On the side of Los Inklings, we also have Hammy over there with the reflexes. So kind of excited to see if we see any action from them in this match or later on. But yeah, we are kicking it off right now.
I'm really looking forward to these games. These are going to be back and forth, and I'm really looking started. Here we go, Splat Zones, Mako Mart. Got a new. It's fun to see the new weapons right here. We got a camo charger and the new forge going in on the side of Los Inklings here in the green. Upcurrent running the tent with hey, there's a stamper right there for you. Already one down on Los Inklings, though. A quick trade back, though. Upcurrent does have the zone advantage here. Los Inklings needs to work together to get some paint on the ground, and here comes the specials.
Yeah, specials coming out from all sides. We see the new Twinkle Dualies doing a great job of popping that bubble in the zone, able to stall out a little bit. Unfortunately, going down, though, to that Roller and Splatshot Pro combo. The Splatshot Pro doing everything in its power to really pull that zone down. But the Roller avenging its
Triple
friend.
kill right there from the
Getting a
B-Roller.
triple.
That's good. That is a good play right there. That was a big struggle right there, but now Los Inklings once again has control, and they need to hold on to it. Slug right here in the Witch outfit, which I do very much love. Trying to see some curling bomb action right here as we're going around for a flank. Early lead here for Los Inklings. We'll see how that goes. 10, 1v1, and that goes to the 10, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jack, seems like this tent might be a bit more up your alley with some of those plays. Getting a really sneaky pick there using its tent shield. And unfortunately not hitting anything with Bazooka, but able to get members of Los Inklings off of right stack for the moment. And now this is where things are really going to become important, because if they're able to stop this roller from getting too much value, which they did, now Los Inklings has to really fight back in the mid, and they have to find an angle.
Holding this spot right here, not giving the sniper good sidelines thanks to that 10 Prela. That's once again 2 down on Los Inklings, only 1 down on Upcurrent. They are holding this advantage strong. They're not pushing too far in. They do not want to get it, though. They do have 2 people down right here. That wonderful usage of the 10 Prela falling down right here. They're going in right here. Control's going to be flipped right here, seemingly to Los Inklings. Never mind, Upcurrent doing their dangest to hold on to that zone. Out come the strikes. Los Inklings need to get back in there soon. They only got 25 points left.
Yeah, this 10 attack fighting through the left, trying to just stall the zone or drag some attention at the very least. They do neutralize zone for a second with the help of some of their teammates, but they don't necessarily have the full control left, and they are the only ones up here in that left court. Not what you want to see, and unfortunately going down to 3 members of Upcurrent, and looks like that's going to be the game in favor of Upcurrent as we round out this first match here on Mako Zones.
You know, when you have a heavy splat lane, a dually, and like seemingly a stamper on you, I don't think I would have survived much longer either. Yeah, Upcurrent right there doing a great job of just capitalizing off of each other, being able to make use of each other's weapons specialties and help cover for their weaknesses. I always the biggest example of that is actually the 10, as we were speaking earlier, because 10 is a very, very useful support weapon, but it is slow. And you need to be able to work around that, and Upcurrent was able to do that masterfully, often getting picks and just making it so that it is typically either a 4v2 or a 3v2 situation for them versus Los Inklings.
Absolutely, and even though, for instance, that 10th flank didn't necessarily work out as nicely as they may have liked it to, it was able to drag away some attention and some key players from the members of Los Inklings when they were attempting to get a comeback, and they might have even flipped the zone. And just that alone has served Upcurrent really well here. Heading into the Calamity Scorch Gorge, it's going to be really interesting to see how both sides respond to what they just saw. Because, for instance, right, with Splat Zones, you have that static zone that you can walk away from, and it can kind of just do its own thing as the clock ticks down. But when it comes to Clam Blitz, you are like heavily independently involved in what's going on in that match. You are responsible for scoring those points directly as an individual player. So I think we're going to see some potential shakeups on both sides as we head into this next match.
I agree. We'll probably see comps that focus, even though the last 2 comps were very, very paint focused as it is. Splat Zones, paint efficiency is still very important, especially on Scorch Gorge, because the way you get around this map is very interesting. You, of course, have the 2 side areas that you can use to try to move around, but then there's the spire in the middle, which you can move across the grates to try to move around into the enemy base. It'll just be very interesting to see, and that ramp going into the enemy bases is just a kill zone right there, especially if the defending team is ready for him.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. And also, like, some of those flanks you can take across the grates on the bridge can be really valuable as well. Just that pressure you can even create. And I think, for instance, like that heavy splatling we saw from the side of Upcurrent might be able to get some surprising value just by their own solo pushes or pressure they're able to exert over there. But nevertheless, we are heading into this next match. Same round of gamers. Let's see what they pull out here.
A heavy edit blaster, a scope, and a shot on the team, followed with sticking with the almost the exact same comm from Upcurrent here. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, it seems like they're opting for a crab stamper potentially here instead of last time where I think they had a V stamper. Nevertheless, though, we're entering this match with a lot of the aggro here on the side of Los Inklings, with that Headed and Blaster doing their best to try to poke the plat of Upcurrent. However, in the meantime, we do have a 10th player all over in Narnia a little bit, creating a lot of good pressure, which it seems like the members of Upcurrent are going to do a fantastic job of capitalizing on as members of Los Inklings keep going down one by one.
That was a good push right there by Upcurrent, able to pick off 3 and push in with that bubble right there. They don't have enough eco to really capitalize off it. Well, they do. It's very spread out, each member having 4 to 7 clams, but not enough for a super. They're having to hold back right here, which is giving those Inklings a bit of time to regain their area, but there goes the super. Upcurrent is in there, getting up to 74 points, down to 71. They just keep picking off. They need to focus on staying alive right here. Great pick right there from the heavy Splatling. Unfortunate counter snipe made by Los Inklings. They need to find a way to get some more clams in there.
Absolutely, and from the looks of it, that's probably going to be it for the push here, as Los Inklings does get solid control back of their plat. That splatter shot and other members of the team doing their best to move up and gain space again, but Upcurrent is 2 down now. This is a good opportunity for Los Inklings to try to gain some space, get some economy on their side.
Wonderful snipe right there from
snipe.
Biggie Bag. Moving up to the center area, this is a great crab spot. Crab is always really amazing, but on this map especially, it can cause some mayhem, as we're seeing right here, just trying to use a bit of offensive crab pressure, hitting 3 of them over there in that little choke point, doing their best. It's now a 3v3 situation, make a 3v... Oh, and once again, evened up by a wonderful Zuka push right there. Los Inklings are trying to get in there, but they are unfortunately don't have the eco, and that 10 umbrella doing a great job to push them off, though Equals does get the splat. Double splat! Oh. Triple right there! And the splashdown, they're going in, unfortunately gets picked off by the Stamper. Los Inklings just a bit too scattered right now. I think most of their teammates were respawning. The Stamper's able to get another one right here. This is a good mid-off going on.
Yeah, Stamper really saving Upcurrent and just their ability to maintain the lead they have right now. Getting key picks on both that Splatling and Blaster, and now as we move across the game here, we're seeing that even though it's a 3v3 situation, Los Inklings is a little bit on their back foot right now. Its members getting caught out in mid alone, going down, and now their plat is being threatened even.
Yeah, Los Inklings down 2v4 right there. Equals doing their best to just like stay hidden and try to mark targets. Unfortunately going down right here, and once again Upcurrent has broken through the Los Inklings defense, and it's now just their charger. They make it down to 50 points, and hey, they were in the lead, but you might as well press the advance while you got it. Throwing up some clams right there to the heavy Splatling player. Smart, well, so the heavy Splatling can throw those clams in while their teammate goes and grabs more. Wonderful use of teamwork and mobility right here. That 10 umbrella doing its best to disrupt enemy lines. Getting all the way down to 35 points, 32, 29. 23 right here, but unfortunately they're all out of clams, getting 20, and that is a wipeout on the side of Los Inklings. They got a lot of eco, and they need to make the most of it while Upcurrent is respawning.
For sure, and really want to applaud the heavy Splatling there for doing a really great job at also pacing just how the clams were going, and not necessarily getting all of what they had on them thrown into the basket immediately, but also pacing themselves. But as we look at the Los Inklings here, we have quite a few clams available on the side of them, with this Headit here holding 7 of them alone, and now it's going to be up to the Los Inklings to try to claim back some lead. They already have 56 remaining on the board here, with 44 points on their side, but we do see just the splatter shot remaining from this push. Shots from multiple members of Upcurrent getting launched at them, and they ultimately do go down. This is going to be up, just with 1 minute left, this is going to be up to Los Inklings to see if they can try to find a lead, or if they'll be able to break past the members of Upcurrent.
It'll be harder, especially since they used their pity clam in that push. However, what the most tragic part of that push was, I think, when their initial clam carrier died right before they got it in, I think their original super clam actually fell off the map, which cost them a lot of eco that they could have used right there. Upcurrent just needs to hold their defenses right now and prevent Los Inklings from getting any clam ecology. Some clams are respawning right now, and with a cooler coming out, Los Inklings might be able to get out there a bit easier, but Upcurrent's doing a good job of keeping them shut down. They're hogging all those clams for themselves. An offensive crab coming right here from Los Inklings. Upcurrent has 2 super clams just ready and waiting. Los Inklings think 1 more clam in order to get a super. They have enough, but they need to make sure they can get a super actually made. The heavy edit moving in to grab it right there. They were able to do it, unfortunately getting shot down by the dualies right there. Somebody's going to have to pick up that super before it despawns.
They do pick it up, but they are just 1 member out as a mid. They do pop that crab. Unfortunately, not the best timing to be popping a crab, though, if you're just halfway through your overtime. And it looks like that's going to be the game in favor of Upcurrent as we close out this second match in our set here tonight.
Upcurrent going up 2-0 in this best of 3 against Los Inklings. Those were some good matches right there. The tempo that Upcurrent was able to have during this match, just being able to control the pace of it to their liking, not allowing Los Inklings to really have any moment of advantage. Because even when Los Inklings was able to break through Upcurrent's defense, they were quick to box him out. They had and after that, their control of the clam economy, it's unlike anything I've really ever seen. It was really masterfully done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think Upcurrent's just done a really great job too of being able to cohesively push and neutralize threats as a team. Even you have certain members like the tent doing a really great job of just throwing themselves behind the enemy, and even though that doesn't necessarily always lead to even a trade, it's able to drag away enough attention where Los Inklings has to devote some members in order to just, shut down what Upcurrent is throwing at them. And they've overall done a really great job really just managing that as a whole. But as we head into Hubback Pump Track, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Los Inklings can come up with to potentially try to shut down some of what Upcurrent is throwing at them, right? For instance, they do have that crab tank from the Charger, which could definitely find some value here. But on the other hand, Upcurrent, of course, still has that tent player. So it's going to be interesting to see what they ultimately choose to run with.
Those Zuka shots have been shutting down the clams this entire set. Excuse me, the crabs this entire set. So yeah, they're gonna have to work around that. Humpback is one of my favorite maps in the game, so I'm always happy to see it, especially on Rainmaker. I really feel Los Inklings needs to have a lot more bomb pressure than I think we've been seeing, because they've had a lot of support and utility subs. Curling Bomb is of course deadly, but it is more so used as support to get in there, and Point Sensor from that last game from the Blaster. Bombing them out is always a strategy that will work eventually, so especially with how weird the terrain is on this map, bombs roll very weirdly and it can get more kills than you expect. Going into this, Los Inklings really needs to work on like playing together, because Upcurrent's pace has just been unstoppable. But I do think if there's a team that can do it, it is Los Inklings right here.
Yeah. Also, a little bit of a commentator's curse, by the way. That's actually the end of the set, so our bad for some of that theorizing, but definitely just some lessons for sure to be taken away from both sides at what was working, what wasn't working, and how to best approach your next set, of course, still here. Congrats to Upcurrent for managing to pull off that pretty decisive 2-0. Once again, like, all the players doing a really great job with their cohesion. Los Inklings also having a lot of great moments themselves as well, of course, throughout those matches.
I love me some splat lanes. I love seeing splat lanes on both teams, but especially on Los Inklings right there. They were putting in some work.
Yeah, but nevertheless here, yeah, just really great job from both sides. I think we may go on a short break as we get ready for the next round to be prepared. But yeah, thank you all for watching so far.
Hope you all are having a great night like we are.
Welcome everyone, and welcome to round 2 of SOS 192 tonight. I'm joined by Jolteon Jack, and we are going to be seeing our next match here with Foams 50 versus the Whiprays. Jack, what do you make of this predicament we're in right now?
I mean, once again, we're seeing a Splat Zones game, which, hey, I'll never say no to Splat Zones. On ship-shaped cargo code, this is an interesting map because of the verticality of mid, having those two opposite platforms and both teams able to just flinging from below, but also jump onto their opposing team's platforms from there and try to control area. It's a very dynamic map, and I actually quite enjoy it a lot. I'm expecting we'll see a lot of weapons such as stuff that's good at poking, maybe some blasters, a lot of probably sloshers. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a Dreadringer. This is a very reefable zone right here. I'm looking forward to it. As always, I'd be super happy if we saw like a Dynamo or something, but that's just me being wistful. And looking at some of the what teams play, specifically the Whiprays, I'm not really seeing much of that. I do see a lot of blasters. I see a lot of blasters.
Yeah, definitely. One of them in particular, Cuber, pronouncing themselves as the Blaster main. So, you know what? Big fan of owning that. Huge W for sure. But when it comes to both sides, it looks like we have a fun mix regardless. And heading into this game, I think that we're going to probably see some interesting openings from both sides. They both have tools that they can use to either break through the zone and push into the other's court, or also just push onto either of the hills and try to just gain control of the others, right? That's really the key part of this map. It's sort of like an inverted Moray Towers, almost of sorts. Not to the same dramatic effect,
not to the same,
right?
like, not to the same like literal depth, but you are correct in that sense, I suppose. And as such, I feel like it's actually really hard if you are down early in this game. It's actually really hard to get back because they can really push you back on this map if you're not smart. But we'll see if any team is able to take advantage of that as we head into our first game here. I am looking forward to this. We're seeing a Carbon Roller Rapid Blaster Pro, excuse me, a Blob, and the thing, and there's somebody with a whammy hat on the other team. It's the Ink Brush. Holy bajoli. This is a good mix of range and pain from this team. A lot of poke coming out from Foam. A good mix of Slayer and poke coming out from Whiprays. This is going to be an interesting match for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing what that Carbon does, as right now it's just a fight off for mid. Our early flank coming around from the Brush, just trying to be annoying, unfortunately goes down to the Blob right there. I think the pro solo 10 of them, but honestly deserved, and it worked out for them as Foams 50 gained control of the zone.
Yeah, Foams 50 doing a great job of just being able to hold forward pressure and just gain control. Also just shut down some threats that the Whiprays were trying to throw at them. This Blob in particular, just the pressure that they can create with those different bubbles they throw across the zone and the court and everywhere else is really insane. You see one member of Foams 50 go down to Cuber there with the Kraken. Cuber doing their best to charge through, gain control of their hill. So far, it seems like they're successful, but they still have to break through zone, and we're going to have to see if they're able to land some vital picks.
Unfortunately, not right there, as their Foam's Blob is able to retrieve it. It does allow Whiprays to gain control of the zone. Now, I just have to say, speaking of that Blob, that is the most impressive Blob I have ever seen in my life. I am terrified right now, and I'm not even the one playing. I really need to see Whiprays do their best to avoid that as they get a Cooler right here. I've been loving how the teams are making use of Cooler in this game, especially with the defensive use of Super Jump very quickly in a bad situation. Great Kraken coming out right here from Cuber, once again pushing them onto the other platform, doing a great job of dispersing as Whiprays hold onto zone right here. They need to get some picks in order to reestablish area. Tries to do the coming out right here, not able to get a defensive pick as they go down to the Carbon Roller.
Absolutely, and really want to applaud like also that Kraken for the side of Cuber as well. That was able to like really help shut down an early, like just really strong push from the side of Foams 50 and just what they were able to put out. But nevertheless, let's look at what's happening right now. You see Vera right here on this Carbon. Just so much pressure is getting thrown at. They're just dancing around the snipe and the stacks of the Whiprays like it's nothing. And they do go down, but ultimately just that amount of pressure they're able to gain has allowed them to just kick through all of their penalty, and now the Whiprays really have to rush here and try to find something if they want to get the zone under the
Wonderful jump right out there, avoiding Cuber's Kraken. Cuber has unfortunately been on the short end of the stick, because every time they try to come in with that Kraken, somebody super jumps away thanks to that Cooler. Foams 50 going down to 1 point. Unfortunately, Whiprays is not able to get back control of that zone. God, the offensive pressure that I was seeing from Foams 50 was insane. But most importantly, what I was seeing is that they were just staying alive. It seems obvious, like duh, especially in a fast-paced game like Splatoon. But honestly, being alive is more important than almost anything else. Because if you're you being alive is a problem that is needed to be dealt with at all times for the enemy team. And just with the defensive super jump usage from we were seeing from Foams 50, it allowed them to stay alive, avoid specials, avoid counterattacks right there. Unfortunately, sometimes they got a bit too cocky. Vera was, though the movement was clean, they unfortunately bit off a bit more they could chew and got picked off, but the other team wasn't really able to capitalize off it. As we're going into Rainmaker Manta Maria here, I'm hoping the Whiprays can adjust, because that was a good first match.
No, I agree, and both sides were able to figure out quite a few different ways that they could create pressure and that they could also throw off the others' pushes just like spontaneously there, right? And it's really led to a lot of different interesting interactions for both sides. And as we look into this next match here, I'm really interested to see how different weapons from either like the side of the Whippers, right, with their brush, with their custom range blaster, can create some chaos that can potentially throw off the side of Foams. But I'm also interested to see what members of Foams, like their Blah Blah, are able to do, and what they can potentially do to create their own pressure and their own intensity in the match. And when it comes to a mode like Rainmaker, it's going to really come down to like how fast can you really rush it into the enemy's base and just try to score those different podium checks. And with something so close quarters as this map, I think certain weapons are going to reign supreme over others for sure.
Yeah, Manta Maria here is a very interesting map. We're talking about that Blob Blob. This is a map that Blob Blob does really good at, especially with Rain. And Rainmaker brings bring the Ink Rain kit. It might honestly do you well, especially with how tight major choke points of this map can be. However, both teams have the mobility to really like take use of that with that carbon from Foam 50 or the brush from Whiprays, especially with the poking kits that both of these teams run. Both of them run very aggressive poking with blasters and the like. So honestly, I don't know how much the comps will change going into this game, but I'm excited to see what we do pick.
Absolutely. Like personally, when it comes to me, like my philosophy with this map, you really want to just try to figure out how to get someone across that sneaky cutaway that's on the opposite side of the main street that you're trying to push through. And
that gets you a lot of points if you're able to pull that off.
I mean, that not just going to get you a lot of points, but even if your Rainmaker's not even pushing through there, you can just create so much pressure and get a really clean flank as well. So I think whoever is able to pull something off like that here is going to ultimately probably end up being the victor. But nevertheless here, let's take a look at how this match starts off with Foams 50 getting the first pop.
Not really too much of a comp change going in on the side of Foams 50 right here. They swapped out the Pro for Glamour Splatter Shot, probably just because of the more close quarters environment. Not a bad thing. They already have the Rainmaker right here. The Rainmaker able to get a pick, securing this checkpoint right here. Strawbert, the most aggressive blob I've ever seen. Great usage of the weapon right there, playing the bubbles up to help them rain down so they can get the maximum amount of time to shred that Rainmaker bubble. Get in there fast. Cooler going out right there to just get as much speed as possible. Strawbert's just going to send it, but unfortunately gets picked off by the shot right there. It's a 2v2. Whiprays need to do their best to hold that bubble pop. Unfortunately lose it. They need to get that pick.
Oh! Unfortunate timing for the members of the Whiprays, who didn't seem like they could land that much needed couple shots there on the Rainmakers to just launch themselves towards that podium. I mean, it's basically what I was describing there as like a needed win condition before we head into this match where, you know, whoever can really master that flank route on right is going to ultimately probably end up being the victor, and that's just what happened. When you push that right side, you're able to just get so much leverage away from the opponent, where they love setting up on those different walls where they come out of spawn, right? Well, suddenly they don't get that same amount of pressure if they're trying to stop a podium check or even additional points getting gained from the opponent's side. So, I mean, props to Foams50 for really masterfully laying that all down. And still props to Whiprays for having really strong opening, for having some good contention on their own side as well, with members like that mini Splatling and also the Pen doing a great job of just handling that pressure. But nevertheless here, that's going to be the end of our set as Foams50 leads into the next round as well.
Great job to both teams, as you were saying. I just once again want to give props to specific players. The Carbon coming in from Foams50 was, we didn't get to see a lot of them that second set, but I adored their thing. And I will forever admit that I am terrified of that Blobber player. I may be bringing it up a bit too much, but I am terrified because their efficiency was out of the wazoo, excuse me. I also want to give, as you mentioned, great props to the Whipray players, especially just their ability to hold areas and play good defense right there, or make a good push when they needed to. It allowed them to get a lot of back and forth in game one, and unfortunately, I think Foams50 were just too, their offensive might was just too much, and the Whiprays didn't have enough time to really establish themselves. But still good games nonetheless. Gosh, it really showcases how fast-paced a game like Splatoon is. That was like, I didn't even have a chance to pass Mike back over to you before the game was over.
No, absolutely, and I think it just comes down to like almost a matter of control too, of how fast you can play. Like, we were able to see some of the members of Foams50. Like, I think a lot of teams probably would have just let the rain sit there. Maybe they would have taken an extra moment to try to gain a slightly more control, maybe find a pick on the Whiprays. And that it's where they were trying to just secure that checkpoint, right? But Foams50 were like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. And they just launched themselves towards that Rainmaker final check, and they were able to find it. And sometimes you just need to make plays like that if you want to win the game, or at least lay out a bit more pressure. And that's just what it came down to.
One of the biggest things in games like this is awareness, not just of how you are playing, like your positioning, your ability in that moment, who you're fighting, where you're fighting, but also even just the simple thing of looking at the map or looking at the squid icons on the top. Foams50 was able to quickly realize they had 2 people down and they had a clear shot on the right objective. They went in, realized Whiprays did not have a lot of paint on the ground, and were able to just capitalize off of that. Just getting into the base, they once again got another 4v2 engagement where they had a 4v2 situation, and despite the fact that there was a charger looking directly at the pedestal, they just rushed it, because in that instance they're not losing if they go for it, and it worked out in the end because they got the knockout.
I completely agree with that as well, for sure. Nevertheless, though, it seems like we're going to have a slight few moments before round 3 starts, so in the meantime, we will be heading to a break here, but please stay tuned as we start to get to the end of Nessie Pools, and we round out some of our matches tonight. Welcome back, everyone, and we are here with our final round of Nessie pools tonight as a part of SOS 192, and we got Calamity Forge Neo versus Buckets Never Stop, with a period at the end, of course. And I'm joined here with none other than Jolteon Jack as we round out our sets tonight. Jolteon, what do you think of some of this that we see right here?
I'm once again reminded that SOS has the best named teams to ever exist ever, because these are some wonderful names right here. I'm hoping to see, as the name suggests right here, a lot of buckets from Buckets Never Stop. And I genuinely do hope that they never stop, especially considering we had a Blob last set, and that was downright monstrous. Mind you, Blob isn't a bucket, it's a bathtub, but semantics, same weaponry. Calamity Forge Neo here, I'm seeing they play a wide variety of weapons, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we see from them today. This first is going to be Hagglefish Market Splat Zones, and this is one of my favorite map modes in the game. I am absolutely looking forward to this.
For sure, and also can't complain about a map like Splat Zones Hagglefish, not necessarily the final destination of Splatoon Splat Zones maps, but definitely close to it, and definitely a fun one at that. You have flame crowds that you can play with. You have just different ways that you can enter in from your own plat as well as you're just looking to fight. And definitely a lot of fun ways you can interact with your opponents as well. So as we enter this match here with Buckets Never Stop and Calamity Forge Neo, I'm going to be looking for definitely some swords, I think, from both sides. For instance, on the side of Calamity Forge Neo, you will have JB 13 Bulls over there with their sword. Definitely love to see that. From the side of Buckets Never Stop, you're definitely going to be having some fun action as well from players like Dio or Never Lucky. So definitely interested to see how they choose to start off this match here in particular.
I've never heard Hagglefish be described as the final destination of Splat Zones maps, but I suppose you're not necessarily wrong in that instance. It's a pretty flat map. There's not too much verticality outside of the bases and the trenches towards the side. And even then, the verticality there mainly just lends itself to flanking around, less so actually playing with the verticality. So it'll be interesting to see how teams make advantage of this area. But just because it's simple doesn't mean that teams don't make use of the minor complexities that it has. Those tents on the side there can be wonderful perches for any long-range anchors that we might have, as well as just many ways to get out if a team does get pushed back. It's really hard to have a very one-sided game on this map. It's very back and forth, and that's what I like about it so much. Like you mentioned, I'm looking forward to seeing some sword action. I'm looking forward to seeing some bucket action, as I talked about. I can't wait to see what mayhem unfolds right here, because I'm expecting it's going to be chaotic as we're going into game number 1.
Yeah, game number 1 starting, and pretty aggressive but fairly strong comp from the side of just the members of Calamity Forge Neo. And then from Buckets Never Stop, we do see, coincidentally, 2 buckets with that Dread Ranger and that V-Slosher, so got quite a bit of aggro here. Pretty much a backlist comp too, even with kind of that heavy edit acting as a little bit of an anchory midline. And I'm going to be interested to see how these teams choose to push into one another.
Buckets Never Stop seemingly getting the early advantage right here, able to get it to a 3v1 right now thanks to that lovely Reef Slider. And I also realized as we were loading into this, Buckets Never Stop has 2 Reef Slider weapons, and that makes sense because this is a very easily reefable map. Calamity Forge Neo able to get back in there quickly thanks to their cooler early on, but they need to break through the defense of Buckets Never Stop right here. A Kraken and a crowd coming out will probably make use of that as Never Lucky gets clipped right there. That's the worst feeling when you think you're out of the Kraken's range, but actually they just clip you. The Glamour Splatter Shot unfortunately having to leave their teammate to just eat the dust right here, getting into a 1v1, which they win against Brine, but unfortunately is picked up by Never Lucky, allowing Buckets Never Stop to just continue to try to hold it, especially with that Splash Zone coming out. Calamity Forge Neo needs to get in there and take advantage of this 4v3.
Yeah, and the members of Bucket Never Stop doing a really great job of being able to shut down some of those flanks as well from the splatter shot, for instance, earlier. We do see 2 go down from the side of Calamity Forge Neo as the members of Bucket Never Stop try to push themselves forward and take space. Doing a great job of doing that so far, finding key picks like that Dooley's, for instance, that just rolled in. And that's going to really do a great job of helping reducing some of the pressure that Calamity Forge Neo can put out. Suddenly they don't have a bubble to maintain space with. Suddenly they don't necessarily have that crab tank quite as online when they would want it to. So Buckets Never Stop, if they could keep finding some of these picks, they're going to be able to stall out what Calamity Forge Neo can throw at them.
2v2 right here. The bubble coming out from Calamity Forge Neo will allow them some lifeline, and it works out right there. Gosh, those Glamour Ghoulies are just putting it in right there. Unfortunately going down to Never Lucky right there, but it does allow Calamity to flip the zone right here. And Buckets Never Stop faltering right here in their offense, allowing Calamity Forge to get this zone. They need to hold it because the amount of paint that Buckets Never Stops has on their team is staggering. Reef coming out right here, counteracted by Kraken and the thing. Another Reef that unfortunately somehow didn't get the kill, but picked up by their teammate. Once again, flipping it to Buckets Never Stop right here, going into almost halfway through the game.
Yeah, Buckets Never Stop saw that one Reef slider come out and get shut down so quickly that they're like, what if I throw out another one? Would you?
What if I did it a second time?
What if I did it a second time? And you know what? That was able to just lead to them getting the current situation that they have for themselves right now. That crab tank from that Dread Wrangler from the side of Calamity Forge doing a great job of creating some pressure, and this Kraken as well, hoping to build off of some of that as well. But the members of Buckets Never Stop just seem to have almost some of these endless specials. But speaking of that Dread Wrangler not able to get the value they wanted from their Reef Slider, which has led to Calamity Forge Neo having another shot here at being able to gain lead and just take control of the map here.
A great flank right there by Calamity Forge Neo gets them this zone, and Reef cancels aren't very common here in Splatoon, but I always like to see it when they have it. Primaire here doing a wonderful job just being aggressive, letting that guy go, knowing they're not going to have time to get the kill. They just need to keep the pressure up. Buckets Never Stop, days down to 6 points, but with that deficit, that's unfortunate right there, having to pop the bubble to survive, jumping out, hopefully able to get that cooler before they go down. They are able to do it. Calamity Forge Neo closing the gap, and unfortunately, special usage is getting them back in, and that's a double kill on that Reef Slider, flipping back the zone control. The Buckets Never Stop.
The way that Reef Slider just collided into the crab tank was insane. Really great play there from the members of Bucket Never Stop. I agree, it really did delete it. And they're going to need that energy here as the match continues to move forward, although JB13 getting a great Kraken pick there, as well as the members of Calamity Forge Neo start to try to move up and find a few key picks on Buckets Never Stop. They do regain control of the zone here, but if they're able to flush out this just right control of the map here from the rest of Buckets Never Stop, they will be in a pretty fine and dandy place themselves.
They're going to have to be careful right here. They can't afford to feed right now because they need to hold on to this zone for almost the entire amount of time as they don't want it to go into overtime. An aggressive crab tank coming out right here, getting them off of the high ground, but unfortunately that Reef the Reef special combo right there, able to flip the zone back to Buckets Never Stop. So unfortunately, Calamity Forge Neo is a little scattered right here. 10 seconds left. They need to get back into that zone in order to hold it back, but it looks like with only 2 players left, they're not going to be able to do it. That may make that one player Kraken coming out, but unfortunately, I don't think the ginormous sea creature of destruction is going to have enough paint to flip that zone, giving the first game to Buckets Never Stop. And their name is accurate. They did not stop at all.
No, they really didn't, and those key specials like the double Reef Slider, like the Tri-Strike, that was able to create the pressure they needed in order to just swiftly take back the zone. Though, like, all you have to do is play those specials, just move up enough with the places that you're sending those specials, and you can just immediately regain the zone and potentially also find a couple picks, since your opponent typically will be playing it near that zone, of course. So that's something that you have to keep tabs on if you are Calamity Forge Neo. You need to make sure that those players are down, or that they use those specials in places that aren't the objective. And we did see some moments where they were able to get some value off of keeping that down. For instance, when they did get their initial big push around the halfway point of that game that brought them down to 27 points remaining, they had control of part of the plat of the members of Buckets Never Stop, and they had the dually making certain plays, for instance, right, where they had their bubble popped on that switchback. And if they can find the opportunities to do similar things here on Tower Control Inkblot, I think that we could see the tides change in the favor of Calamity Forge Neo.
I mean, Hagglefish Market's just a very, like, with correct special usage, so as we saw from Buckets Never Stop right there, it's very easy to paint that zone, especially with something like Reef Slider paired with strikes or another Reef Slider, which is sure to take back the zone. But I do want to give Calamity Forge Neo props right there, because they were able to hold that area good. Once they pushed in, they were able to keep Buckets Never Stop out for a while. They were smart, they didn't really overcommit to anything, and I have to commend the special usage from them as well. Like you were talking about, the bubble usage from their dualies was phenomenal, and I also want to give props to their Glamour Splattershot player, because that Kraken was monstrous, able to just tear apart and disperse Buckets Never Stop so they can pick it off for the rest of the team, or just get some picks themselves. Very smart usage of Kraken, and I wonder if we'll be seeing it going into here on Tower Control, because people like to put Kraken on Tower and hope they don't get shot off.
No, agreed there completely. But as we head into this next game here, I don't know if we'll see too many different weapon changes from either side. I think we might see a Reef Slider traded out from the side of Buckets Never Stop. I don't think we'll see two. I think Reef Slider can get value sometimes in Tower Control. It's not necessarily the most optimal weapon for it.
This map's a little awkward. This map's a little awkward for you. You do have some high areas you can tease it out, but hey, maybe I know nothing because they stuck with the exact same comp.
They literally did stick with it. Exact same comp to a T, so you know what? Yeah, maybe we're wrong. Maybe they're gonna slide out those Reef Sliders like no tomorrow and get amazing value, but let's see how this starts out here as we enter the match.
3v3 early on in the game, going back to the 4v4. Thank God for that Crab, able to shut down that initial Reef Slider, putting Buckets Never Stop in a really precarious position. Second Reef Slider coming out right here, and unfortunately their entire team just avoids it. They need to get on that tower and capitalize. The biggest thing that Calamity Forge Neo needs to do right here is make sure that Buckets Never Stop does not have the high ground. Because with their team, their poke power is insane. It doesn't matter if it's Blaster, it doesn't matter if it's the Tread or the Slosher, or two of the Reef Sliders that they have on this team. Calamity Forge Neo needs to make sure they hold a constant offensive pressure right here, and unfortunately it's going a bit sideways right now, but they have plenty of time to put it back right here.
No, for sure. And as we saw earlier, like, it seems like the key, like, objective to those Reef Sliders that the members of Buckets Never Stop are trying to use is to try to get behind the enemy. They don't really care if it necessarily gets, like, a pick even. As long as they're able to launch themselves in an objectively powerful spot behind the members of Calamity Forge Neo, they got kind of part of their win objective here. And look at what they're doing. They're taking away attention away from the tower by pushing themselves in front of it through stuff like those Reef Sliders. And look, I think they even double Reef Slidered at the same time. I wasn't exactly sure what just happened there.
Hey, it worked. It got two picks, and with the strikes coming out, it was able to further disrupt Calamity Forge Neo's positioning. Buckets Never Stop is through the second checkpoint right here, but this part right here is the kill box. This is where we're going to see some blood, but already we got one Kraken coming out towards the thing. Icebreaker trying to get out of there as they are being hunted down. Follow beam caught right here, but that's going to be shredded by that Reef Slider right there. Buckets Never Stop's offense is being pushed back slightly right here, but they haven't left the area at all. Those strikes coming back out, and we got a splashdown on deck for Buckets Never Stop. They held that area wonderfully.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, I agree there. And look at Icebreaker here, doing a great job of finding some key picks and getting some very key flicks as well on the members of Calamity Forge Neo. And that's actually going to round out the game, coincidentally enough. Really fantastic aggro. Buckets Never Stop. Like I mentioned this earlier, they were able to do a great job of just putting themselves collectively in front of the tower. If the tower was going through a checkpoint on the plat, they were up at the opponent's base. Like, as long as you're able to create that space where you're acting almost like as a great barrier in between you and the opponent and the objective, you kind of just win the game from there. And I think Buckets Never Stop did a great job of showing how that works.
I want to go back to a point that you brought up mid-game, because it's something that's so genius, yet I never even considered. The fact that you're using Reef Slider for positioning. Because typically when you think of positioning, you're thinking of like you painting yourself in there and like moving around with, especially with the extra movement tools that were added in Splatoon 3. And Inkblot has a lot of ways that you can get around, but with those like very narrow alleyways, but that are straight enough that you can get a Reef Slider in there up onto the high ground, that makes it so the enemy can't retake it on their defensive pressure. It's crushing, and we saw it all the time right there, and it just allowed Buckets Never Stop to just hold that offensive pressure that they had. They never got pushed out because Calamity Forge Neo couldn't get out of their own spawn.
No, they couldn't, and yeah, I mean, I completely agree there too on what you bring up. Just like having that constant reef slider pressure, like you might start getting pushed back, but as long as you got that reef slider button at your disposal, you can just launch yourself behind the opponent, and then you likely have a friend or two next to you who was at your previous position, and now you got your opponent surrounded, and they're kind of also in a precarious position where they're kind of stuck in a puddle of ink where they probably don't have too much ink in front of them. They don't have too much ink behind them now due to that reslider pop. And even though this isn't necessarily always going to be the comp to run on a map, I think in a place like Inkblot, there are angles to use it. There are some options available, and I think Buckets Never Stop did a great job of playing specifically to those points. So props to them for their creative decision making.
Yeah, like you were saying, I mean, if we had gone on to, if Calamity Forge Neo had stopped them there and won the game, and we would be going on to Museum Rainmaker right here, I don't think they would, Buckets would have stuck with that comp, just because Reef Slider is such an awkward special for that. But also, I've been proven wrong about Reef Slider tonight, so who am I to say otherwise? But to the point you were talking about having, like, ink cutting off areas of entrance, but also escape, a big thing, the biggest thing that Reef is able to do, in my opinion, is not paint, though it is very good at painting, especially in a very small splat zone like we saw in game 1, but it's dispersion. We see them dispersing all of Calamity Forge Neo, making it so that Calamity Forge Neo is having either 1v1s or 2v1s against their favor, and they're not able to pick Buckets Never Stop off. They're not able to, like, get those picks so they can push out. It keeps adding up, and it just allow Buckets Never Stop to just keep on going.
Agreed. Those buckets never stopped, but of course, props still to Calamity Forge Neo for what they were able to pull out and fight with today. That first match in particular on Hagglefish Zones, that was really close. Both teams had a great showing. And of course, this match that we just saw as well, really good showing for both sides too. Really strong fights and a lot of good moments overall. But yeah, that's going to round out our Nessie pools. But me and Jolteon Jack will return shortly once we get together Great White and the other brackets, of course, too. We'll be on a short break until then, but stay tuned for some great upcoming matches.
Your boy Sprightly.
Welcome back, one and all, to our start of Great White bracket here at a swim or sink 198. I almost got it through without stuttering. Right here we have our first round of Great White with Bloxy Bingo versus 12-ounce porterhouse steak. God, I love these team names so much. This is going to be a very, very interesting map. Starting it off where we started the entire tournament on Mako Zones.
Yeah, Mako Zones, definitely one of the best maps, I think, overall, when it comes to Splatoon 3. Really love what we got going here tonight, and also got a fun round of teams here as well to see fight it out for who can become the winner and move along in our Great White bracket here tonight. Um, Overall, I think we're going to see quite a bit of aggro from both sides. Definitely some swords, some buckets will likely be picked, but I think we'll also see like a Gluga Dually, maybe a ink brush. I guess only time will tell, right? But I think there's going to be some really strong picks from both sides. Maybe some new weapons to toss a little bit of new stuff into the fray.
I always love seeing like very diverse and interesting weapon comps. I mean, when we saw Buckets Never Die, that was a comp that I had never seen before, and I would definitely want to see again. Maybe not play against because that would be terrifying, but definitely want to see again. I'm hoping to see some similar things, especially from people I'm hoping are as creative as this. This will be a fun game. Like you said, we're hopefully going to see some Glugas. I was also seeing there was a 96 gal, I believe on 12, I believe on Bloxy Bingo, which will be very, very interesting to see. Very, very strong anchor for a team, especially if used correctly. Expecting to see maybe a Hydra Splatling, which we haven't really seen yet. We've seen more so mobile Splatlings today, even with a mini, a heavy, and a heavy edit. But hopefully we get to see some heavier boys up in there as well.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I mean, when it comes to a map like Mako, it's all going to come down to how fast can you take your opponent's stack, how fast can you really just move up and just own up different parts of even their immediate plat as well, right? So I'm going to be looking for whoever can have the most resources to make a maneuver such as that as we head into this next match here. And we kind of see some similar themings with the rest of this immediate set here as well, with Barnacle and Dime Clamblitz having quite a few similar themings with how you want to enter into the other's stack and just move from there to get control of objectives. And if we see an Umami, might be not too different either. Umami's kind of like an inverted Mako Mart in a lot of ways.
It's more so
funny to think
vertical than
about.
horizontally. It's more so vertical than horizontally spread out in
Yes.
its central area. So you're playing from one central stack, which has two side trenches where teams will be fighting, and that's the thing. I'm hoping we just get to see a third game, my friend, because all of the games so far have been 2-0s, and I love me some Swift games, but I'm wanting to stay in here and see what these teams got, because I have a feeling it's about to be a bloodbath up in here, or an ink bath, I
Yeah,
should
I
say.
agree. Yeah, an ink bath for sure. What would be funny is if we saw a blob who could really double down
Yes,
on that.
exactly. Please, that would just be a perfect thing for that bit that I just set up. Gosh, I should have done that during our second round. Ah, wasted bit
Yeah,
potential.
wasted bit
Um,
potential, and I'm stealing. I'm pocketing it. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, dang. It's fine. Bits are meant to be shared, as we say. Let's see some bits in the Twitch. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
but overall, I mean, we mentioned earlier that both of these teams are going to have some potentially unique angles they can take. It's not going to probably be the most vanilla of comps. We might even see some backlist comps too. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these sides ends up opting to just go all in on their aggro, which could definitely help speed up how they take certain objectives and different parts of the map. Once again, since you do want to take those different stacks on this map, you're going to want to be able to just move fast, and you're going to want to be able to confidently take different angles. You're never going to really ever see a charger try to hop on right plat immediately when you're pushing up. So I think like if they go all in on the aggro, we might be cooking a little bit.
I mean, hey, if I see the craziest E-Leader player to ever exist to go up on right plat before the enemy team even gets there, I mean, either they're absolutely insane or they know something that I don't. So maybe we will see it, but probably not. Chargers on these maps are actually quite useful. Chargers and Clan Blitz are always a bit interesting because of how hypermobile that specific mode is. There's not really one key area that you are holding. You always need to be able to move in, paint in, do whatever you need. And some Chargers are able to do that, especially now, like the pencil meta that we've seen ever since that weapon came out. So we might be able to see it, but I'm really looking forward to it, especially the second game during this, and if we get to it, the third. But this first match right here will definitely set the tone. Like, you know, you got to hit strong, and the other team needs to be able to adapt, regardless of who wins or loses.
I agree. And, you know, I think there's also some funny coincidences with the maps and the teams' names to be had, too. Like, you go to Mako Mart, I'd like to think you could buy a 12-ounce porterhouse steak there, surely. I don't know what the Inklings and Octolings and everyone else are eating over there, but surely there's something they have that's basically steak.
Yeah, that brings up a good point, because all mammal life is extinct, so it's like, aside from Judd and Little Judd, so it's honestly like, what do they actually eat? What do they make in terms of protein? It might just be an entirely, no, that's not true, because we know they eat stuff. I'm getting on a side tangent. I apologize, folks. But yeah, you'll definitely find a porterhouse thing here. There might be a chance for bingo up at the Mall of Barnacle and Dime.
That's what
that
I'm
might
saying.
be a thing. I don't think you go to the ruins to have a game of bingo unless you're trying to, you know, go down, see King Tut, say hello, and ask him if he, if assuming that survived the Great Apocalypse before Splatoon takes place. I mean, they're clearly uncovering a big pyramid in the background right there.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, I don't know if you heard, but they ended up discovering that like Pharaoh's curse plague, like that, like actually helps like fight cancer cells and whatnot. So you know what? Maybe I do want to have bingo night there. Like maybe,
You know,
maybe I'll get like some good health benefits from it.
I was thinking for a moment you were talking about in game lore, and I was like, I don't remember reading that sucking scroll, and then I was like, oh no, that was a real thing that was found out very recently, and I was like, gosh dang, the world sure is an interesting place.
Is for sure.
Because the way you were framing that, I'm like, that sounds like something that could happen in Splatoon, but apparently it's crazy enough that it can happen in real life as well.
Yeah, that's some of the most fun situations you can find yourself in.
We're about to get started. I promise you that, and these matches will be worth the wait. I promise. We're about to go in right here. What is some stuff that you're wanting to see here, Zen, as we, especially here on our first map?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking for whoever can just really own the momentum of the match and make the most use of it with their specials, with their primary weapon picks, and just how they're able to play to its full potential. Like that last set we saw some of those gamers there being able to really use their resliders to their full potential and just in creative ways. I really hope we see similar things take place here. Maybe not necessarily a reslider, of course, but just anything could definitely get the job done when it comes to creative plays and usage. And we're going to be hopping in now. It's going to be do or splat from both sides.
Kicking off with you could have said do or die and referenced a great old song in this game. Anyway, we're going in right here. Bloxy Bingo versus 12-ounce porterhouse steak. We will not be saying that whole thing during call-outs. Already, Bloxy Bingo doing a great job of getting that zone early on and just trying to get paint into the... I don't know how porterhouse will kill on that crab. They somehow managed to grab in less than 15 seconds. I don't know. That's nearly a squad wipe from porterhouse steak right here. They are efficient. They got a crab, a cooler, and a whale coming out right here. This brush is absolutely crazy. Just the movement speed is insane. Double kill right there from XD right here. This is the fastest hermit I've ever seen. I'll tell you that. They are moving in and out, trying to be as annoying as all good brushes are. That's a lot of missiles, though. Time to get out of there.
Yeah, really love what Porterhouse Steak has been able to do so far. Really just owning that early momentum of the match, right? And even though it's a little bit hairy for them at the moment, they're still doing a great job of just owning different spots in the map and really becoming like individual different nuisances for the members of bloxy Bingo. Like just that like splatter shot and that splash-o-matic, like they've been able to just really push up from those inconvenient angles for the members of bloxy Bingo. And as we can see, despite everything, this match is now over.
Okay, so that was less than a minute or so, I think. You know, I was talking about how, wow, Bloxy Bingo did a good job of establishing, like, good paint. Like, they already got the zone in less than, like, you know, 10 seconds. That's insane. And then suddenly Bloxy Bingo can't leave their spawn, and the 12-ounce porterhouse steak of a crab tank suddenly picked off 3 of their team, which is absolutely insane to see. I don't know how much special charge is being run on that team, but I think all of the members may be running a little bit, because that was some fast-paced Splatoon gameplay right there.
You know, I'm thinking about it now, and it's like, if you're playing Bloxy Bingo, like, can you get a bingo off of a 12-ounce porterhouse steak? I don't know. But I think the 12-ounce porterhouse steak has shown that they can get a bingo of their own through some of their own creative usage of their weapons. And that brush in particular, like we were mentioning before, they got some incredible usage off of their weapon. The rest of the team managing to get some chip on the collective members of Bloxy Bingo, and that brush just sweeping in there to finish off members of Bloxy Bingo, and overall landing really good pressure and power as well. And as long as you can stay up, that's going to be valuable in its own right. As we saw earlier, 12-ounce porterhouse steak, they almost got knocked out briefly there, where they were at risk of getting wiped and losing control of the zone, but their different members were able to stay alive but still have that paint pressure up, where the members of Bloxy Bingo couldn't get back in just yet. So definitely looking to forward to what we can see as this next match comes up, to who can really carry through with that momentum.
Yeah, the momentum will be insane. One of the reasons that Porterhouse was able to have such momentum is, like you mentioned, their ability to hold, but also their special usage. We already talked about the crab, but they're cooler when, as you mentioned, near the end of that game, when it seemed like Bloxy Bingo was going to be able to hold a push, it was down to a 2v2 on either side, but it was quickly once again made a 4v2 in the favor of the 12 ounces, because just that cooler usage was able to quickly get them back in the game. They never had a moment where they were down, and they were able to use their specials and their like movement on the team, especially from something like that brush, to just separate the members of Bloxy Bingo and just pick them off one at a time. A great quote that I've heard from some professional players is the fact that, you know, good players can win 1v1s, but great players win 2v1s, and we saw that a lot from that first game. And I'm really hoping that Bloxy Bingo can adjust and utilize that knowledge going into game 2 here.
Absolutely, and as we head into this next game, we are going to see a little bit of a comp shift. Not anything too dramatic or crazy, but members of 12-ounce porterhouse steak have opted to pick up the Glugadoolies, which I don't think we saw last time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, not at all.
Yeah, as we coincidentally, unfortunately, see them go down right at the beginning of the match here, could potentially be a really valuable early pick here from the members of Bloxy Bingo. We're also able to take out that crab tank. If you remember last time, that crab tank really enabled them to get that early strong push, so it's going to come down to who can maintain their overall pressure with mid and also gain some respawning rounds.
Bloxy Bingo doing a good job of adapting, like you were saying. They were like, okay, these guys are fast. Let's match their pace and just move it in right here. They got a lot of eco going in right there, as the zip pass is going to be able to cover the thing. They get the super clam, and they're able to pick off one. It's a 3v3 right now, but they are pumping clams into that basket, getting it all the way down to 53. Unfortunately, that's 2 down on their team, and it's just the zap and the splatter shot, and they're really backed up. They need to get out of there, but that was a good opening push. Not even a minute into the game, we're already halfway through the points for Bloxy Bingo. A good adjustment so far. They need to keep up this pressure.
No, I agree completely, and Bloxy Bingo's been able to show like how they can shut down some of those different specials that 12-ounce porterhouse steak was able to use to their benefit last match. And so far, we haven't seen them get quite amount of the just value out of those specials just yet. You see the Stamper over on this right lane doing a great job of just getting a bunch of attention, also taking out a member to Porterhouse Steak. But now, despite all that, I think it's going to be 12 ounce porterhouse is a stake to move up as they start to gain some control of mid and also the clan economy themselves.
Wonderful counter usage of the Trizuka right there to pick it off, and Blaster's able to get the pick right there, forcing it down to 3v2 situation. They are able to get the Super Clan back in there, but 12 on porterhouses are very scattered, and they do not have a lot of eco to use. They do have that Pity Clam at their basket, but I don't know if they'll be able to grab it. And I think bloxy Bingo is able to hold out that assault. Porterhouse is only able to get the Super and one additional Clam in right there. Great defense scene here. We're back in mid. They need to get some paint on the ground to hold this area, and they need to build some eco in order to try to knock out this game. Because I feel like if 12 ounce porterhouses can get in there, they might be able to pull this back. But bloxy Bingo doing a wonderful job of keeping them out with those bombs, trying to build up special. We already have a Zep on ready from the Stamp. About to have a Cooler right here on the Zap. Trizuka ready. Out comes the Whales. We are seeing some scattered movement, and that's unfortunate. Booyah Bomb coming out right here, but I think bloxy Bingo are going to get picked off right here. The 12 ounces need to utilize this moment, get some eco, and get in there.
Ooh, really clean pick there from Sigma Lord on that Splash-O-Matic. That's the Crab Tank out on Porterhouse Stake. Not going to be available for a little bit longer, and with us passing the halfway point of this match already, it's really going to come down to who can just find that probably last push of the match here, as both sides have quite a bit of terrain they have to fight through, although members of 12 ounce Porterhouse Stake are in a prime position to find some dunks of their own as this rush starts a potential push-off.
Yep, they get the Super Clam in right there, but their team is very scattered. They're able to pick it off. They stop the second Super Clam from getting in. That will be huge right here. We see Kiki just waiting, daring somebody to come and try to grab this Super. I think they might be able to do it. Unfortunately, the basket comes back up, but it's only down to the Stamp right here. They need to buy time in order for the basket to drop. The Stamp goes down. I don't think they're going to be able to get 12 ounce Porterhouse out before they can get another score in. They're able to do so. They need to, but they don't have any real eco to get it in. They managed to take the lead there by one Clam, and that's all they need, and they are out. They're trying to get some more eco, and they need to do so because bloxy Bingo is once again down to only 2 people. Getting that lead up right there, picking them off. bloxy Bingo needs to push them out right now. The Booyah Bomb coming out from 12 ounce Porterhouse, not able to get a pick, but just buying more time right here. A second Booyah coming out from the side of bloxy Bingo. They're able to push them out and hold this area. That's good, and now they have 2 supers and some plans to spare going out. That's 2 down on the side of bloxy Bingo.
Yep, they do indeed. Yeah, and 12 ounce Porterhouse are going to be a little bit on the back foot here, as just a minute left is remaining in the match. A few members of Porterhouse Stake trickling down. This Suka getting some additional great value, although the Brush able to take out that splatter shot who landed those key picks, and we're kind of in a neutral here. The members of bloxy Bingo need to make sure that they hold control of those different balls that they have, right? But they also have to make sure that they're able to just be in a prime position to actually push up, and as Porterhouse Stake is starting to gain control of the again and get key flanks here with their rush play, I don't know if they're going to necessarily be able to get that final push to them.
They have it. I mean, hey, if they break through right here, they will have enough eco to end the game. Trying to get somewhere with a Zip, and Booyah Bomb 3 specials coming out on the side of bloxy Bingo. Able to get one pick, but they need it back. That's 1 down. I don't think, nope, there goes down both of their pushes, and I think both of those Super Clams are going to be lost right here. And I don't think bloxy Bingo is going to have enough time to gather more clams. They might be able to save, nope, there's the wipeout, and I think this game once again goes to 12 ounce Porterhouse Stake. Unfortunate as it is, but that's something that you see that is like super important in high-level Splatoon gameplay. We saw the adaptation between games with bloxy Bingo able to get a clear lead in the beginning, then hold the area until about the halfway point of the game. Really like reset their mental and like stay in the game and maybe put Porterhouses on the back foot. But even more, just as important, if not more so than that, is the adjustments you make during a match. And Porterhouse was able to see the fact that bloxy Bingo had risen to their momentum and counteract, be able to resort back to old tricks or find new tricks that might work to pick it off, and they were able to secure their set 2-0 in their favor.
For sure, and you know what? I think the team here that really got that bloxy Bingo, it has to be 12 ounce Porterhouse Stake. They came out on top here. They had a lot of really key picks that they were able to land, a lot of really great pressure, and it ultimately led to them really taking those wins. And I mean, still credit, of course, to bloxy Bingo themselves, who was also able to really just adapt strongly and figure out some different ways that they could try to just gain a lead over 12-ounce porterhouse steak. We saw for a good deal of that match there that Bloxy Bingo did maintain a lead, and although it did kind of fall apart towards the end, they were able to still land some important picks, shut down different specials that 12-ounce porterhouse steak was throwing at them, and it led to definitely a very fun match to watch, to say the least. But
Yeah, part
yeah,
of that
that's
comes from just the teamwork on both sides. I love seeing the combination of special usages, especially in that last game. The Booyah Bombs mixed with Trizuka and a Zip Cast from Bloxy Bingo that were able to get a good initial push, and they tried to use it again in that last little push, but unfortunately 12X poured out stake were able to see it coming this time, and that head it's flatling. The patience of just standing in that corner, waiting for the push to come, and once they did, they lit them up, and that I feel like secured them the game at the end of the day. But unfortunately, we will not be going to the third game. Hey, quick sets for you and me, my friend.
Yeah, quick sets indeed. However, still very fun sets to be able to commentate and, talk about regardless. But that will do it for us tonight as we do hand off the next round of sets of Great White off to our other commentators here. I think it's about time we say our goodbyes and everything, Joel, Tion, Jack. Do you mind leading us off there?
Yep, no problemo. So thank you guys very much for joining us for this first half of SOS 192. We'll be getting back to you soon with the second half of Great White. You can find me at JoelTionJack22 at Twitter, and I'll probably be getting other socials at some point. I am a collegiate Splatoon player and aspiring voice actor, and we'll hopefully be doing some more stuff with that in the coming days. Can they find you, my good friend Zen?
Yeah, so y'all can find me on Blue Sky at omazen.broadcast.beep.com. You can also find me around the CCA and Broadcasting Esports Every Play, where we do a lot of great content with trying to just like push the Splatoon scene as a whole forward and help kind of guide people towards different resources that they can find and communities as well. So yeah, with all that said and done, have a lovely night, y'all, and look forward to some great matches as SOS 192 continues on forward. See y'all later.
Stay
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Swim or Sink number 192, which feels like a crazy number to say. I'm Nox. I'm joined here by Rays, and we're going to be getting into Great White Round 2 next.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like you said, 192 is a crazy number to think about.
It is.
There have been 192 SOSs before this.
Yeah. You know, just been going on for a little while.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And yeah, like almost 200. Almost 200 tournaments.
I don't know of anything being cooked up for the 200th, but I'm sure there is something, because you don't do a 100th of anything without that. But getting into the teams here, we have Coolace Sucks versus StarX. Some interesting names coming out, as always. And we're going to be looking at Robo-Roman zones to start.
Robo-Ramen is such an interesting match to watch, because it's really easy to tell on Robo-Ramen who knows what they're doing and who doesn't. Because what a lot of teams end up doing is they walk straight out of spawn, rotate 90 degrees to the left, and start painting zone.
Yeah.
And they'll just group up there and stand there in a really tight-knit group. And with the new mini Splatling getting added to the game, making Zuka much more prevalent, that's just not a strategy you can really afford to have anymore.
Yeah, and also you never know. Maybe there will actually be somebody that remembers to use their sub weapon on the other team, and being that bunched up tends to be rough in those circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a particularly small zone. It's a zone that people have liked bubble on traditionally, if it's not both teams running double trip strike, which there's always a chance of with this one.
Yeah, I mean, why would I ever walk up to the zone when I can just throw trip strikes from, like, my spawn and just flip it anyway?
Why take a risk?
Yeah, why take risk when I could just not?
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
I fully support that.
I support it, but also somebody's got to move up with the strikes or it's boring.
Oh, true. Well, yeah, you're never gonna win the game off of just throwing 6 strikes at zone unless you were already winning already.
I don't know. There's probably some team that could get away with it.
I mean, probably, but like
it's not the good way to do it, but it maybe could work.
I see, but I think that relies on the other team having an exploitable composition, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's one of those things where you're almost putting your fate into the other team's hands, and like as a player, I never want to do that, right? Like I never want to be like fully out of control of the game. Unless I'm just cooked up the most ridiculous strat and I'm just giggling the entire time because it has no right to work. But
yeah,
if that's the case, I'm not bringing it to the tournament.
Yeah, that's fair. You're saving that for a bigger event.
Yeah, well, I'm saving it for, like, Open or something.
That's fair.
Like, I've cooked up some crazy strats before. That's not the problem. The problem is taking untested strats in a tournament is just not a good idea.
Yeah, you should test them first, generally. Although we haven't seen many strats tested in quite a long time now. We haven't really had any teams looking to do that. In the last while, I mean, we've been seeing people mess with the mini Splatling. We've been seeing a little of the new Dreadringer. We've been seeing a few of the new, I mean, obviously the new Pro, because its kit's bonkers.
Yeah, the new Pro is so good. Like, especially against Pencil, right? Like,
yeah,
it's basically one of those things where it was made specifically to remove Pencil from the lobby as efficiently as possible.
And it still hasn't done it yet.
Yeah.
I think that I agree with you. I think there will be a point where we start seeing less Pencils. I just think it's going to take people time to feel comfortable starting to bring that out in tournaments. Yeah,
because Pencil is like, as a weapon, you have to put a bunch of time into to get really good at it.
Yes.
So it's like the sunk cost, right? Like, you don't want to give it up because you put in so much time. And there are a few maps that it's really good on, like better. Someone disconnected before the game started.
Oh, well, that's classic. But yeah, it seems like we won't be seeing a Pencil from one of the teams. I mean, we aren't really going to see comp changes from that. The Claws 96 is a really great alternative cooler option. It's not my #1 pick for an alternative cooler option, but if you're still going to be running a Charger, it might switch to it.
Yeah. The interesting thing there, like the really fun thing to talk about there is actually E-Leader. Because
no, I never want to acknowledge those.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to, but you have to,
Yeah.
right? Because if we don't talk about it, we're just sweeping a huge piece of the game under the rug.
Yeah, but I don't like getting sniped that far away. It makes me sad.
It makes everyone sad, but the only thing that can be more sad than someone getting sniped by an E-leader is the E-leader missing all their shots.
Yeah, well, that is harder on the E-leader player, absolutely.
Yeah, like
the thing about
onus,
playing, yeah,
the onus to perform is really on the E-leader player, right? And like the reason they're picking it is specifically to counter the pencil. It's like a check. Like it's not a hard counter. It's not someone who's gonna lock the pencil and spawn, but it's enough to make. It's not the
new rapid.
Exactly, but it's gonna make them think twice, and thinking twice on a map like Robo, where all of your sight lines are really good, is just a fantastic pick to have.
It definitely can be. But yeah, you were saying a little bit earlier that a lot of the onus ends up falling on the E-leader. Yeah, you're not allowed to miss shots. You play a charger at a high enough level, you stop being allowed to miss any shots. And that's a lot of pressure. Interestingly, we have a 96 gal on both teams, and we have a machine coming out. Not overly shocked to see the blue dapples. We do see a lot of reef sliders for zone pretty traditionally. But that machine coming out, we've been seeing more of it the past couple weeks. Interestingly, I don't get it.
So the machine walked into mid and didn't respect the leader, and the leader said, "Respect me."
Yeah.
To talk more about the pick in general, as they're trying to get stuff done in mid, this is a generally solid map for it, because if you look at the geometry, all of your indirect hitboxes are going to force people off strong angles. So when you can just run through the map like we just watched, the leader has to back away, the 96 has to back away, like, and Booyah is going to be really strong at partitioning the map. So if his teammate didn't disconnect, and they use Booyah, it enables the rest of their team to take up a ton of space.
Yeah.
So everyone on their team can move forward efficiently, except for maybe the pencil.
Yeah.
Right?
And it seems like, because, so you probably, there's a chance you know the DC rules better than me here. It seems like each team is allowed one DC per set. I don't know if that first one counted because it wasn't in game yet. So
the first one, and I'm not acting in a TO capacity here, I'm just going to say general rules as I'm aware of them. I'm not making calls here, you know.
Yeah, I have the rules pulled up, and it's just, I'm not sure here. Because the first one was before the room started. Like, not before the room started, but before the game started.
So generally, if you disconnect before you load in, you just go back to lobby and you just get them all again, essentially. You get a freebie.
Okay. But this one counts.
Yeah, but once the game starts, once ink starts flying, once leaders start making people explode, then it scans.
Yes. So this is the 1 DC they're allowed per the set. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. If not, it will.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, always fingers crossed as we get back into this. Maybe this time the machine will respect the E-leader. We will see.
Maybe this time the machine will open bottom left and actually use the Uno reverse card on the E-leader.
That's always an option. That is a really strong spot for machine. Like you were saying, they're really good at hitting around walls. Seems like they are doing that, in fact.
Yeah, they're doing exactly that. Unfortunately, the leader sees them coming, knows they're there, and is just threatening with their laser and getting support from their teammate, who I'm surprised hasn't already wide swung this, if I'm going to be honest, because having the oversight of the leader
makes it a little free.
It does. It makes it very free.
Oh, and we're having a Kraken chase.
Yeah, that just gave me a flashback to Splatoon 1, where that happened all the time.
Yes. Luckily, we don't see nearly as many of those these days, but I'm sure with that new glamorous splatter shot, we will be seeing more of it. That burst bomb Kraken kit, while I don't think it is the strongest, is going to be very popular, because I think people find it fun to play, if I had to take a guess.
Well, it's really fun to play, and because of that, again, they try to disrespect the leader. Sorry, Coolace sucks. They need to start putting some respect on wee cat's name, you know? Yeah.
Sometimes you do sadly have to respect the charger player on the other team, and this is devastating news every time. Because you never want to. You just want to assume they're not going to hit you. And then they hit you. And then then you learn that you have to sometimes. Sometimes you keep not learning the lesson.
Yeah, we've just been talking in general, and Coolace Sucks has gotten it down to 5. They just so thoroughly asserted themselves over the entire map that StarX was really feeling the how am I getting back into this game? And until a couple seconds ago, they didn't actually know.
Yeah, and the answer ended up being find 2 picks, use a reef slider, which is a pretty good answer. I can't
reef
lie.
Slider is always
effective.
a good answer.
It's often a good answer. I'm not willing to give it always.
It depends. Like everything, it depends.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yeah, that U-meter's hitting shots.
Both the chargers are.
Yeah.
So, like, we just watched the pencil get the pick on the shot. Everyone in this lobby has just decided that lasers aren't real, and if they're not real, they can't hurt us. The problem is that they're real and they're hurting.
No, surely not. Surely this time will be different.
Yeah. The interesting thing about StarX's retake and why they find themselves back in their own spawn is they didn't paint the map around them.
Yeah.
Like, they got top mid, but they Coolace could still move around through trench on both sides of the map and just completely surround them.
Oh, good picks here coming up.
And it's really hard to hold when you're surrounded unless you're just that guy.
Absolutely. Honeybee doing a great job opening the map up for their teammates, allowing them to start taking space and moving in. We're seeing a pretty wild chart here from the Dapples, managing to find 2. That's a strong double, just the pencil left up. StarX really looking to hold their space now.
But yeah, the double on elbow here really was the key. So, because now Coolace can just walk up elbow again. And the booyah is absolutely fantastic from the machine, because it meant that StarX couldn't hold their own elbow, and if you can't do that, it's really hard to influence zone on this map without being incredibly vulnerable. But the Dapples are just doing their job absolutely perfectly by continuing to pressure and just displace people.
Yeah. I really like the position that Claus 96 Gal had been in. It does seem like that last Zuka shot may have managed to take them out, but it allowed them to keep that left side of the map pretty under control, and it would have been a great spot for them to try and steal a pick from. We are seeing Rihanna using that Kraken to cause some chaos, chasing down Honeybee and Wee Cat, but not quite able to find them, as we're seeing the rest of their team trying to find those last few points they need to take lead. It is ridiculously close now.
It is, and I think the 96 overextended. I think if they didn't go for that last kill, this retake wouldn't have been so precarious. Because, like, it got down to... StarX got it down to 7.
7 is usually a winning push, quite honestly.
Yeah, but they still haven't solidified everything. And these jumps coming into the leader, decamped. They would have been... If they actually got to exist, it would have been perfect, but the machine right here...
Does machine things.
Absolutely, yeah. Doing machine things and coming out absolutely huge right when it counts at the end of the game.
Which is the only... It's not the only time it really matters, but it is the time it matters most. As Coolace manages to find the wipe in the final few seconds, letting them take game 1 in this round of SOS.
Yeah. So what'll be really interesting from moving on from here is it moves to tower control. Do we think the leader is going to stick around? I'm probably going to say no.
I will always guess that a leader is going to stick. I assume if I see a leader, they want to one-trick so bad.
Yes, but I don't think Tower Haggle is that...
It's not their map. Yeah, it's not their map. But it wouldn't shock me to see them stay on it.
Oh, it wouldn't shock me at all, but, like, thinking about it as someone who's played a bunch of Chargers in the past, I would much rather play the new Charger, the Crab Tank Wrangler, because I'm still getting my Charger value, and I have a really good special that's going to allow my team to springboard off me a lot easier than something like Wavebreaker.
Absolutely. Crab Tank is a way stronger entry tool. It's a way stronger stall tool. It does everything you need it to do, quite frankly. There's a reason we still see it. Yeah, and then some. Luckily, it's not and then some enough that we run 2 of them all the time anymore.
Yeah.
I am glad Crab Tank is still very usable. I am also never upset when I see it gets another little nerf. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It did deserve that. Absolutely, Nintendo. You actually have that one right. It did deserve that again.
Well, and overall, Crab Tank's in a really good spot where if you're really, really good at Crab Tank, you can make it work and do everything, like we were kind of saying earlier. But if you're only so with Crab Tank, you're still going to get value, but you're not going to get that much value.
You're still going to get enough value to either get your team in or keep a push going, though, which is nice.
Yes.
Because people know they have to respect the Crab Tank. We might not remember that we need to respect the lasers, but we remember that we need to respect the Crab Tank.
Yeah. And, like, you mentioned not respecting the laser. I for one am kind of happy they're not respecting it. I think it's much more entertaining when people don't respect the laser. But
it is much more entertaining. It is not the brightest move sometimes.
Well, yeah, like if we're trying to encourage the players to play the best game possible,
which we should be,
we should be telling them to stay out of the way of the lasers. However,
feed that laser a little bit.
Fun. Yeah. Okay, they switched to pencil.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't love to see it, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
We also see the new Pro coming in really strong on this map. I like this map a lot for missiles. Very linear, very expected pushes, but we do have a flank coming out that already took out the Pro. Now has found the shot. The 52 gal does get taken out, but that's a huge early 2 to find, preventing those missiles from coming out as the machine now goes for a flank of their own. It seems to be working out well. It's just a mess.
Yeah, the machine just got a triple. Like, if I'm the 52 gal, I'm so sad. Because
that should have been fine.
Yeah, they got a 2 fantastic opening picks, and then, like, their team waited for Cooler, and because they waited for Cooler, their window of opportunity closed. Coolace said, I see you, and I raise you.
Area hit.
And then got a fantastic push breaking first checkpoint, which is just completely opens up the map for them.
It really does. And we're still not seeing StarX really managing to find much of a foothold right now. They're looking to, but Honeybee is having to go in there alone, trying to pick these fights and win them, somehow managing it. But that's a precarious situation to be in, looking to find the pencil, going to be able to. That's a delayed wipe. Well, I guess not really delayed, but essentially delayed.
That was like a textbook push from StarX.
Yes.
Like chef's kiss, beautiful. The Dapple's reef slid in, and then the 52 came from the off angle, like, and now they're gonna be able to use more specials to keep this push going. Like, it was fantastic.
Yeah. And they're keeping it going quite well. They're getting to the second checkpoint. It might not get much further. The 52 gal not quite able to find it as the machine hits a great direct. And now the machine rushes forward, does get punished by the Dapples. And we're looking, and Wee Wee Cat looking to the right to try and shut down whatever's happening over there.
Yeah. The machine, I think, is getting a little excited.
Yes.
They're having a really, really good game. They've hit 2, like,
their
what I would call
feels
really good clips already.
Yes.
Yeah. But they need to slow it down just a touch so that they can solidify their hold in the rest of the map. And here we get to watch one of the few weaknesses of Kraken is if you pop it and the other team can go around you, they will go around you. So we just watched basically nothing happen.
Yes. Which is, I have never been the biggest fan of Kraken. I probably never will be the biggest fan of Kraken. It is a very selfish special to me, and if your teammates can't take advantage of it, nothing happens unless you manage to get a wild triple. Which is cool and all, but I would much rather see, I tend to prefer more team play focused specials.
Yeah, but I think for what we've seen from StarX right now, I actually like it. I think, like, that one was a poor example, but
generally they've been using them pretty well.
Yeah,
like
right
here
to break open checkpoint, like,
and to get that jump in to be safe, using their body, using the Kraken's invulnerability as a physical shield for their teammates.
Like, that was they stacked the deck in their favor on that push, and now Coolace is having a lot of trouble dealing with all of the ratty players.
Yes.
Because, like, when you look at their composition, they have
it's a
three
lot
players.
Of rats.
Well, they don't
Not even rats. They have a lot of very
play.
independent players.
Yes, that's a much better way to put it. And then using that independence, they're just causing so much havoc for Coolace. Like, the shoe is on the other foot. Initially, it was Coolace forcing StarX to try to force something to happen by disorienting them. But once StarX got in, the independent nature of their composition really came and shined.
Yeah, I will say that Coolace definitely has a chance to bring it back here, though. There's still a minute left. They have some good specials online. They've shown good team play. They need to maybe not have the shot directly on top of the tower like that. But we have a Booyah Bomb, we have a Zuka. They just need to survive this Kraken and manage to get the 52 gal out of there, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, so the other thing that Coolace needs to do, while we were watching that push happen, there wasn't really anyone holding mid. StarX just got to walk in for free and didn't really have to use any resources. So if they didn't have to use any resources, all of a sudden, now StarX is back in Coolace's walls, almost literally, and Coolace doesn't have anything to move the tower for.
No, they don't have anything, and now they're 2 players down. I feel confident that we're going to see a Game 3 here as a wipeout comes up. 1-1, going to go into Game 3. Always exciting to see.
And I think, yeah, it was very exciting. Game 3 is going to be interesting. Because
it will.
So, how does Coolace change to win Game 3?
I think the answer is just doing better space control, which isn't always the most fun answer, but it feels like they're getting very either clumped up or spread out in a way where they can't figure out what to do with each other.
They need to equalize. They need to find an equilibrium in their positioning.
Absolutely.
Because you're right. And, like, I think on Robo, one of the things that really helped Coolace is the fact that StarX actually had a leader that couldn't really contest the pencil in terms of pure zone contention. And because of that, Coolace could squeak out a couple extra points and make it and make the game happen. But when on equal footing, StarX looked a lot better.
They definitely did. I will say part of that could be familiarity with tower control. There are definitely teams that are tower teams. I usually view tower teams as also being zones teams, so I don't love that argument in this case. That's one of my own personal little theories. It has been a pretty typical trend for me to notice that if a team is really good at tower, they're also usually really good at zones because they're both games where they're both modes where the game sets the pace for you. You don't decide the pace of the game.
Yeah, I call them patient modes. They're both very patient modes in comparison to Rainmaker and Clam Blitz that can
where it's
get
explosive.
They can get explosive, they can get very hectic. It can just spiral out of control.
Well, and the objective can move anywhere you want it to move. The final places of the objective can't. But the Power Clam can, the Rainmaker can go pretty much anywhere. Well, really anywhere, except your timer goes down way faster.
Yeah, exactly. But let's talk about Shipshape versus Robo-Robin here for a second. They're like polar opposites.
Yes.
It's like yin to yang. So Robo-Ramen tries to funnel everyone to fight in the middle of the map on the high ground, but then juxtapose it to Shipshape, where Shipshape wants you to fight around the edges, and the middle of the map is concave. It's a bowl. It's a fight club, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, it's a death zone.
Exactly. So...
But we are seeing a blaster coming out here. I'm not mad about it. I kind of like to see it, but it's not...
I really like it.
It's really good on this map. It's a map where you want to focus around that ledge control a lot. It's replacing the machine, it seems, which is nice to see. I also do like to see the crab tank coming out here from that V-Dually. A special I am particularly fond of on this map, the space control.
Yeah, Crab Tank is very strong here. Coolace tried to take initiative in the opening fight. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out for them. But, like, they had some team play. Okay.
Oh, we're
what's
living.
going on here? Barely.
Yeah, but we're in their base now. Now we've got a free flank. No.
No, we don't. Wee cat said, no thank you. Go back to your spawn.
Please don't be there.
Yeah. Like, they just promptly snuffed out the flanker, and now that's going to enable them to hold really nicely. Honeybee, if you had moved a little faster, the Crab Tank would have come out, but it doesn't matter because you just shredded. But please stop standing on the zone.
Sometimes standing on the zone is fun, is a treat. Honeybee looking to try and find some extra picks, jumping back though to prevent anything from going too wrong. Finding the shot with ease, the Dually having to try and force something, it's just not going to work out for them. Seems like this will be game, as there is nothing Coolace can do to get back into that zone.
Honeybee, like, from the perspective of the stream, Honeybee just deadlifted.
Yeah, but that's probably not what actually happened. Like, there was paint going down to allow Honeybee to do all of that. Their teammates were taking care of objective and cleaning up stragglers. But Honeybee was getting some wild picks.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, let's talk a little bit about the pencil. Like, the pencil did shut down the flanker so quickly, so efficiently.
Yes.
If they didn't do that, the chance that that game spirals out of their control goes up significantly.
Oh, absolutely. You can't let a dually that can get a crab tank stay behind you.
Yeah. So that play
crab
right
tank
there
on a flank seems, oh, that would be so funny.
It would be so funny, but so hard to work around.
Yeah, but it would be so funny in that particular situation if it had worked out. Oh boy.
Yeah. But
that's
like talking about Coolace, like I said, that first game, I think the leader, my hypothesis, the leader didn't hit enough of the pencil, so the pencil just played slightly out of their range and positioned and just tap on zone, and that was just enough to swing the balance. And then like StarX said, all right, well, we tried, but now it's time to win.
Now it's time to go back to pencil land.
Yeah.
Which works really well against other pencils.
It does. Well, yeah, so when two players are on pencil, it becomes a skill matchup, right?
Yes.
Like, who is the better pencil? And like, again, there are multiple ways you can be the better pencil. Like, you can be like supportive of your team. So
you can hit your shots more.
Yeah, or you can hit your shots more, right? So you can make your team's existence more impactful by like painting and using sprinkler effectively and throwing coolers in good positions so your front line can get them very quickly and move with them. Or you can just make the other team explode.
Absolutely.
And, like, personally, I prefer making the other team explode. I find it much more fun, much more interesting.
But there is merit to painting your teammates' feet so they can win their fights.
Yes. Well, because you can't win every game on your own. As much as any individual player would like to believe they can, it is a team game, and a team of 4 players will beat, at least sometimes, most of the time, beat 4 individuals.
Absolutely. A team of 4 players will generally come out on top, but on the other hand, in SOS, we see a lot of teams of 4 individuals.
Well, and that's partially due to the nature of the tournament itself, right?
Yeah, it's a weekly.
It's a Wednesday weekly. Like, why? Like, Moonlight's not going to show up to this, as much as I wish they would.
FT showed up once.
Yeah. Back in ye olden days when there was a prize pool.
No, when there were badges.
Yeah.
When badge existed.
I mean, the badge still technically exists. You just
well,
have to
but
win
they
the
got
entire
it.
Thing now.
Yeah, they got it already, though. They can't get a new badge.
I remember the badge farmers trying to get when we had badges for each individual bracket.
That was rough.
Oh, it was such a pain. I didn't really have anything to do with it, but it was a pain to watch, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I would also want funny badge beside my name, but also, not the coolest vibe.
No. Well, yeah, so like if you have the Great White badge and the Hammerhead badge and like what's the other shark? I should know this, but I don't. Whatever the third bracket is. Yeah.
Hammerhead, Mako, Lantern.
Yeah. If you have all of those badges, I'm kind of raising an eyebrow. Because, like, if you're winning SOS, why you're telling me you had such a bad time that you literally didn't win a single game in group stage?
I believe that could happen in the right pickup environment, I'm gonna be honest.
Sure. I just don't want to believe it, you know?
That's fair. I can imagine a situation where that can naturally occur. I think it is rare, but I can think of situations. But also, not an issue these days.
True.
And we're going to be getting into our next match before too long with Samuel Whiskers versus 12-ounce porterhouse steak.
All right, so Samuel Whiskers.
Mm-hmm.
Are we calling them Whiskers or Samuel?
Samuel.
Samuel? Okay. And then 12-ounce porterhouse steak. That's also a mouthful. Should we call him 12-ounce? Should we call him porterhouse? What do we think the funny name is for them? You know?
I mean, we could do a very bad choice and just go with porter.
You know what? I like that. Let's do that.
But Hermit is a player I know I've seen around before. They've played in tournaments like this for forever. Always nice to see names I recognize. Doesn't always happen. There are so many players these days that you actually can't keep up with everyone anymore, which feels wild, remembering how things used to be.
Yeah, players change a lot of the times, but you know what doesn't change over the course of the tournament, really?
What?
The maps. We're going right back to Hagglefish. We were just
true.
there, now we're going back. Except it's zones this time.
Zones. You know, I'm actually not going to complain because I haven't seen Zones Mako yet, so I'm normal still.
I don't know if Zones Mako is even in the pool.
Let's go. I get a break from her.
It could be. I'd have to go look. Unfortunately, I don't have the SOS map pool memorized because it changes every now and then.
Which is good, as it should. It's always good to adapt and try new things. I feel like Left Twix is actually a name I used to see a lot in League back in Splatoon 2. It could be a different Left Twix, but it is a name.
It's a name. Their composition, both these compositions are so interesting. Oh, and so much fun.
And we have brushes on both teams. Ooh.
Yeah, brushes, heavy edit, the Glugadoolies on one side, the new Rapid Pro on the other.
Yeah.
What's gonna be really interesting for me is watching the brushes just try to run around. Are they gonna run around? Are they gonna try to fight each other? Are they gonna ignore each other?
They're gonna fight each other, it turns out.
I'm a fan. I like brush-on-brush violence.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there the hammer comes out again. Hermit running through zone with it. Probably gonna toss it here in a second. Looking to find one, not quite able to. Dropping some ink mines down to just start setting some traps, trying to get people to drop down into them, and running away the moment they're damaged at all, as a brush should.
As a brush should. The ink mine usage was really good. Their positioning very similar to a roller, but letting their ink mines do some of that damage, that heavy lifting with the ink brush is you don't have a super high DPS, but getting the ink mines in these ramp positions and under important drops means that they don't have to worry about it as much. Here comes the brush fight, the mirror match, but one of them knew. Hermit actually got that, and I'm kind of surprised.
I mean, Hermit just seems to be really on top of this game. We have finally seen a zone clip, but Porter pushed all the way to 16. Really, really strong opening push. We are seeing Puma in here now. Luca does get taken out. It's a 2v2. Samuel looking to try and find something to really push them back. And admittedly, the blaster into that heavy edit, gonna do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, once the Rapid Pro has map control, it becomes so much harder to position on this map. Because the Rapid Pro can stay safe, they can stay far away from these ledges.
Reach?
Exactly. And then even if it can't reach, it can just throw suctions.
Yeah, why'd they give it that?
Dogami just decided it would be funny.
It was time for her to get a chance to be good at the game. It was time for that weapon to get her chance. That's so rude. It didn't need this.
Yeah, but Samuel Whiskers...
The cooler was enough.
Yeah, Samuel, unable to hold the zone because their high turf weapons just went down, and Hermit just said, you know what? I want this zone. I think it's mine now.
Inkbrush is truly a flex weapon. Don't assign it any specific role. It could be your Slayer, it could be your Skirmish, it could be your support. It can do all of it at once. Is it good at all of it at once? Not necessarily, but it can kind of do it all.
It can try. I mean, my brain hurts because you called it an anchor, but like...
Oh, I forgot anchor existed. They've got Splat Bomb on one kit. I'm actually going to stand by it with the Splat Bomb kit.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
I refuse to allow you to do that.
I used to play Junior. I'll stand by that.
Yeah. Watching the Rapid Pro just slowly walk forward and force Porter backwards.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, because like, how do you stop that as Porter? Like, obviously you try to fight it, but like, it's surrounded by two of its teammates. Like, Samuel having just such a clean push here because everyone knows roughly where to stand and how to execute
and how to throw burst bombs at what the Rapid was chipped. Yeah, I really love the new Rapid. I'm really happy that we're getting to see it kind of do its thing right now. This is probably one of its best maps, if I'm just thinking about it. It's going to be strong a lot of places, but particularly here, where it just can kind of stand where it wants, poke where it wants, as long as their teammates have found the map control. There is no way of effectively pushing back in where you're not already chipped.
Yeah. So, like, talking about these teams stylistically for a second, Porter, it never really felt like they fully committed to a push.
Yeah, I would agree.
They would get in a little bit and then stop because the brush would show up or someone would go down or something like that. Like, it never felt like they fully followed through. Yeah. And that's a really big problem moving into, like, Rainmaker and Clam Blitz.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, we touched on it earlier. Rainmaker and Clam Blitz are very fluid modes, very dynamic, very uncontrollable.
Yes.
So not being able to follow through and continue, even though you've lost a player, is a really important skill to have.
And it almost felt like they were kind of relying on Hermit to get in a lot of the time.
Yes.
Which is not what I want to see with a brush. I want your brush to be an option to help you get in. I don't want it to be your only way in.
Yeah. Like, they were really reliant on Hermit going on one of the flanks and just standing there and going, hey, listen, look at me. And
Shiny, distracting object.
Yeah, and if that's your plan, woof. Like...
And I mean, it definitely can work. There is always a chance of that working, but it seems like this team, since they're already used to brush shenanigans, having their own brush, is going to be less susceptible to it than the average team would be.
Yes. Unfortunately, having two brushes in the lobby on opposite teams means that the brushes don't really get to do their ideal game plan, and it turns into like a more honest game.
Definitely. Brushes love to make a dishonest game. But if a team knows how to deal with a brush, they're forced to play an honest one. And
that's not one of the things it's strong at, but because there's two, they cancel each other out.
Exactly. So it's not a 3v3. Oh. I respect it.
I respect it too. So Samuel
That's an S2 move.
Samuel has decided as a team they just always want to pop Rainmaker. Like,
and you know what? They will.
Yeah, they have an absurd amount of object damage with having Sploosh that has some of the highest object damage in the game, and they just instantly get checkpoint. Porter doesn't even try to disagree.
Yeah, it felt like they could have tried to disagree, and then it just didn't quite work out. We're seeing two crab tanks out on the map right now, both vying for space control. Hermit forcing one of them back into the corner with the Booyah Bomb, able to find that pick. But that's not going to keep... I don't think that's going to keep Samuel from fully crossing over. It did. I didn't expect it to, though.
Well, so Samuel Whiskers, they haven't lost the middle of the map. Like, their push ended in air quotes, but
yes, it is the same push, realistically.
Oh, I wanted them to pop. That jump
It would have been so funny.
Yeah.
Well, they were counting on the pop. There was a hammer out. How could they not get the pop other than 4 other people shooting at the Rainmaker's shield?
The Rainmaker goes down back mid. I think the Rapid Pro dropped in on it.
Probably.
And actually hit all 3 indirect.
Which, you know what? It works. Yeah.
Yeah. Because normally your Rapid Pro isn't going to take that risk, but doing it here in Rainmaker, like, respect. I respect that a lot.
Yeah, in Rainmaker you almost have to play more aggressively. I also like how quickly Nex is moving with this Rainmaker. There's not a lot of hesitation. Maybe a little more hesitation to let your teammates move in front of you would be good. But there, when a player's already gone down, at some point you do just have to move with the Rainmaker and go, well, this push isn't really going to go on much longer. Might as well see what else we can get away with.
Yeah, so I'm going to point out a critical error that Porterhouse is making.
Yeah.
They're leaving the Rainmaker open for too long. Samuel Whiskers' comp is very fast, very fluid, very mobile.
Yes.
Right? Your windows of opportunity are very few and they're very far between.
Mm-hmm.
So just leaving the Rainmaker to, like, exist...
Not a good idea.
Isn't going to be a sound strategy all the time. Like, they almost got checkpoint, but if they pick it up quicker, you could get to checkpoint quicker, and the other team has less time to respond.
Yes.
And such is the way of the Rainmaker.
Well, such is the way of Splatoon, really. Like, if you really think about it, the biggest difference between top teams and normal teams isn't even necessarily how good they hit people or how well they control the objective. It's how fast do they take advantage of any opportunity they get. That is the biggest skill divider in Splatoon. It's how fast you realize you have that opportunity.
And Samuel, like, they're doing such a good job of just, if they think they might probably have an opportunity, are just going for it. And yes. I tip my hat to them because, like, they're executing it so well.
They are. They're not, and they can take the risk of overextending a bit because we're seeing Addison on that Rapid Pro do a really great job of just not going down. They're getting to have those safe jumps in. Now, admittedly, this is a bit of a scary fight for Addison. They don't quite have the setup they want, but now it's not. Now it's their fight to win. Dart Daniel overextended into Addison. Very tempting to do. It seemed so chaseable. But you can't let the Rapid stand behind a wall and fight it because it will win every time.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes Rapid Pro really strong here. Crab comes out on Rainmaker, they just have to kind of concede this pop, I think, but they I don't know why Porterhouse just decided to stop.
Yeah.
Because they're also all penned in. If Addison drops here, Samuel Whiskers, I think, just gets another push.
Probably, but they're probably not that worried about finding one right now. They're more looking to make they're more looking to make sure they don't lose control of everything. Which now they're probably worried about. They've got a brush behind them. They're aware that they have a brush behind them. And now Hermit has popped that hammer. Luckily, Nex is able to take them out before they find the pick on Addison. But the Stamper gets taken out, and Addison's staying there?
Yeah, that's an ambitious play, but I think if the Sploosh jumps in, then that could work.
I mean, it can still work either way, but is Addison there? No, Addison must have jumped back by now.
No, Addison's jumped back. The suction bomb coming from the left side of the screen. They moved into a more normal position, but with 20 seconds to go...
And a crab tank out.
Yeah. Porterhouse has a mountain to climb, and they don't have the resources to do it.
No, they really don't. Like, it's fun to think, oh, maybe they'll find a way, but there's really not a way for them to find it right now. Samuel Whiskers is doing a great job at not overextending. They knew they just needed to find the one pick. Their Stamper knew they could take the risk there because the rest of their teammates were up, and there was enough paint. Not a lot of paint, but enough paint for that to be a safe choice.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't think Samuel Whiskers as a team ever really lost control of the game.
No, it felt like they were solidly in control the whole time. I have to give them a lot of credit on that. They were doing an incredible job of just going, okay, we have as much space as we need to play the game. And admittedly, at the end, that space shrunk, but they knew where they needed to keep their space. They knew the space that mattered.
Yes. And, like, if you know the space that matters and you can play around the space that matters, that's all that really counts. But a skill I kind of want to call out on that Samuel Whiskers did a really good job with last game is they simplified the game. So they sent people in, and if they traded, they didn't stop. They just said, okay, now there's less things to worry about. And that's one of the things, whenever I play, that's one of the things that I really like, that I advocate for even when I'm coaching, is simplify the game as much as you can so that when the players you have left can play to their highest possible level.
Absolutely. And that's a great thing to do. I also really like that they're willing to adapt their comp to modes really comfortably. I know it's not something every team or pickup has the ability to do, but it's something I always really like to see. I have not seen... It's very rare that we see a Sploosh pick for Rainmaker these days. I still think Hammer Sploosh is a good pick for Rainmaker if you have the right team for it.
And also if your team has the right mindset about it.
Yes.
Because a common pitfall that a lot of teams can run into is they pick Hammer Sploosh and then they don't push with Hammer Sploosh. And
you gotta move with the Hammer Sploosh.
Yeah. But the Hammer Sploosh is no longer gracing us with its presence.
That's a Rainmaker exclusive, probably.
Yes, and now we're back to the wild and wacky brush.
Brush players are their own beast. I know a brush player. You also know this brush player that has to play on a PS4 controller because they break pro-cons too quickly. And that's terrifying to me.
It is, and yeah, brush players are a different breed in general.
But their hands function.
Most of the time. But you know what's also different? The opening to this game, Porter came out swinging.
Yes.
And they were swinging for the fences.
And it's working.
The only problem is they don't have any clams.
Hermit got in there and threw one in. Not that either of us would ever prefer to just see one thrown in. Basic Clamblitz advice. Never just throw one clam in.
Yeah, so Hermit got another in, so it's not the end of the world, but yes. If you can avoid it, avoid making single power clam pushes because it just gives your enemies a power clam that they can use to strike back faster than you can.
Yes. And I will say, you are less against this than me. I am very against seeing any push that doesn't get to 60 early on. Like, I get it if you're 4 minutes in and somebody just needs to push. At some point, I get it. But I think it is always better to go for a really strong push in Clamblitz because it's such an explosive mode that you never know when you're gonna need it.
Yeah. And speaking of being, like, an explosive mode, just kind of in general, Porterhouse has controlled this entire map for basically the entire game, and Samuel Whiskers is just now getting in.
But it looks like they're gonna get in big if they manage to.
Yeah, but what I was saying is they were having a hard time simplifying the game, but now that they've simplified everything and kind of gotten their hold together, I think Porterhouse is gonna have a much harder time.
I agree, but it doesn't seem like that's necessarily going to be the case. We're seeing them move up and take more space than we have. The crab tank's coming out at a decent spot at a decent time, although instant shredded.
Cool.
Okay, next. Never mind. Prove me wrong. That's fine.
Yeah. That hammer just instantly destroying things, but I'm actually going to call out the Gluga here, just as a weapon in general. Gluga's really strong here.
Yes, it
is so good for this map mode combination. Like, look at it on top mid. Throw splash wall, roll forward, two-shot someone, and there is basically no recourse that person could take. And then also, Booyah is fantastic for opening up pushes on this map. If the Gluga can stay alive for, like, 15 seconds and get a single kill, I think they have the potential to crack this game wide open for Porterhouse.
Absolutely. It is definitely a possibility for them to manage to have the Gluga do that. Easier said than done when there's brushes and another dually running at you, though.
Yeah, when you're getting pinched by the Gluga, or sorry, the brush and the stamper, it's really hard to, like, crack the game open like a walnut.
Yeah, but this comp is... The comp they're playing into is just way more mobile than most Splatoon 3 comps we see.
Yeah, that hammer throw...
It was good.
It was so good. It just completely took the wind out of Porterhouse's sails.
It really did, and it seems like they're going to have a hard time refinding that win. As we're seeing a push from Samuel Whiskers here, the Stamper's probably going to take out this crab pretty quickly, as Stampers usually do. At least pushing it back enough that it doesn't get much value.
Yeah.
And now they have the cooler.
The cooler comes out. This game has just been such a slugfest so far. No one's really been able to get a solid push going. They've just been exchanging like little like kill type white map. Like
messy.
This Stamper has been trying their absolute hardest to crack open the defensive porterhouse and really deal a decisive blow, and porterhouse hasn't been cracking.
Though, to be fair, porterhouse needs to not have to play defense right now. There's not a lot of time left. They don't have lead. Now, one power clam will get them there. I say having to quickly do math. But, well, actually, this could be the turn of tides they need, especially if they find Addison here. That would be absolutely huge. Addison does manage to jump out, but this is a great opportunity for porterhouse. They're moving up quickly with it. They have a Booyah Bomb ready. Samuel Whiskers gonna get shut down by that Booyah Bomb. Clam goes in. Luga's set up. And we are seeing the splashing Luga looking to try and find even more clams to just keep it open. And this should be a game to porterhouse.
I don't think so. I think they needed to wait a little bit longer. Samuel Whiskers has the chance for overtime, and the pendulum can swing back, and it can swing back hard.
True.
The two picks right here, going down, hammer coming in, like, oh, he didn't throw it. They
Not in
didn't throw
time.
the clam.
And it's just the dually, but it was one a clam.
Hermit did it. Hermit managed to clutch up in the final seconds when things were looking rough, and that's why I said, porterhouse, they got in.
They did. They just needed to get like one more clam in there.
Like the 5 seconds left on the clock,
it's brutal.
Wasn't enough, because that gave Samuel Whiskers overtime, and because Samuel Whiskers had overtime, they could come back with specials that they didn't have to use, because porterhouse was doing essentially a push out of desperation.
Yes.
And because they were doing a push out of desperation, Samuel Whiskers could just swing back on their own. Like I said, the pendulum effect that Clam Blitz is so naturally prone to.
It is more prone to it than even Rainmaker, I would say.
Yes. I think that is a very fair assessment.
Yeah, Clam Blitz is such an interesting mode, because it is... I mean, there are a lot of Rainmaker games that go like that, where it's just a punch after a punch after a punch, with, like, a lot of nothing in between. Like, we had a couple minutes there where, like, there was stuff happening. Sure. Was it productive stuff? Debatable.
Yeah. I disagree a little, but, like, I think the core of what you said is true. A lot of teams, I think, don't take the time to execute Clam Blitz as well as they could. So a lot of teams like to play Clam Blitz, like we watched in the last minute of the game, where it's just the pendulum is swinging back and forth. No one really wants to give up on a push. They want, like, the push ends when everyone wipes out. And that's the easiest way to play it, but not the most effective. Yes. So
I always would rather see at least one or two players stay up. You try and keep mid to get the next push rolling. You try and keep the momentum on your side. It's good to have the momentum. Splatoon is all about having your own momentum that you keep carrying through, whether you're talking about between sets or just within individual games themselves.
Yeah. And, like, the key to Clam Blitz isn't... I don't think it's being aggressive. I think it's being defensive.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Because, again, the teams who can stop that pendulum, the swinging back and forth of push and after push after push, the team who can make the other one stutter for just a split second, that's how you squeak out wins. That's how you win more Clam Blitz games. That's how you move forward and gain renown.
Yes. Well, and I think a big part of that, stopping the pendulum, is having players stay up and keep mid, or at least keep, like, your part of the map fully under control, where you can keep people pushed out. For example, that rapid staying up and being able to defend the basket a little bit better, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, yeah, because if they had, like, one other person to defend basket,
it makes such a huge difference.
It does. Especially if those people are spread out, or on opposite sides of the basket, or, like, not standing on top.
Can create some sort of pinch, can create some sort of triangle, any sort of shape.
Something. Yeah. Like, something to make it so whoever we're trying to shoot can't shoot back at both of us at the same time.
Absolutely. And we are looking to start heading into finals soon. It seems like we're waiting on the semifinal between... I'm just going to go with Bad Villain there.
Yeah,
because
that's what I was going to go with, too.
Yeah, I don't know how else to say that. And it seems like StarX, a team we previously saw, is on the back foot against them, which is interesting.
Yeah. Part of me wonders if they try to start off with E-Leader again, and then...
It's possible.
And then the momentum just got wrenched away from them, but that couldn't be the reason that they're down only one game. So it has to be a somewhat entertaining set.
Yes. And it will be interesting to see if it ends up being 2-2, or if we get to move on to our finals relatively quickly here. Not information we have to play with quite yet.
Yeah, we have to wait. We have to sit on the edge of our seats, and hopefully they'll report score as soon as they finish the game.
Yes.
And then from there... Ding, 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 ding. The bracket live updates. Let's go.
Let's go. But going into this, I don't know what Bad Villain is running, but I feel relatively safe in the guess that they have a pencil. It's a safe enough guess.
Yeah.
We might get to see Rapid into pencil.
Yes.
That's exciting.
It is. Something else that's also exciting, I just took a look on Sendo. It's zones into Rainmaker into Clam Blitz again.
I like that.
Yes. Like, so it's going to start on the solid foundational mode of, can you hold the space?
Yes.
Then we're just going to fight, and then we're going to fight some more. And I'm very excited.
But we're going to fight while pretending we're holding space.
True.
Well, they're still holding space. It's just holding space in a very different way. It's holding a space that you move at your own pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's Mox. Isn't it? Is that the Mox I'm thinking of? I'll click. I know how to read.
I don't know what Mox you're thinking of, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Octobrush Mox. It's the Mox that, like, 2-1 Vanguard. Yeah, it's that Mox.
Oh, so, okay. So, we're gonna see an Octobrush versus...
A normal brush. Yeah.
I'll say it. The Octobrush wins that.
Little bit. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't recognize the rest of the players Mox is with. I believe that they're probably pretty good if Mox is choosing to play with them. I feel like that's a relatively safe assumption, but we've seen Samuel Whiskers do a great job of just playing the fundamental basics of the game really well.
Yes. Samuel Whiskers, like in the last set, put on a fantastic demonstration of...
Here's how the game works.
Yeah, I don't need to be flashy. Like, I think their playstyle ended up being flashy because they were just, like, facing someone who did the exact same thing as them.
Yes.
So it was a really nice display of skill. But they have the foundation to not have to do that. So like, I will be really interested in seeing how they're going to adapt to Octobrush, because their comp doesn't really like facing Octobrush.
No, it doesn't. But Next seems like they're willing to be... Maybe I am guessing wrong. Maybe it is just Sploosh and Inkbrush. But I do believe that most Sploosh and Inkbrush players know that sometimes they gotta play something else.
I would say there's a high probability of that.
I feel like it's almost inevitable, because at some point you're just gonna reach that point with those weapons.
Yeah.
Now, but maybe they haven't reached that point yet. You never know.
Yeah, and I mean, we could watch the Goku power-up and go even further beyond and all that, you know?
We could. You never know. Also, sometimes Inkbrushes just kind of win things that they're not supposed to.
Yeah. Well, it's... What I love watching Inkbrushes, because sometimes they'll just run behind the enemy team and do a 360 and just flip the entire map and make it so that a fight that would normally be good is now really bad because they force the other team to fight in enemy paint.
Yes. And that's always so powerful, especially on a mode like zones, where you're going to be fighting near the zone. Sometimes you're going to be fighting in the zone, even if you don't want to be. So if your feet are painted in the zone, and it's just randomly flipped because a brush decided it should be, as they do, as is their right as an ink brush. They don't have a lot of things they get to do just for fun. Well, they do, but there's not a lot of things they can do that effectively just for fun.
Yes. And, like, the interesting thing about looking at all of these maps is Zones Mako, I would say, is a generally good brush map. The sides of the map, agree. The sides of the map are isolated enough that a brush can sneak in and use them really effectively. But the other modes aren't really that good for brush, I don't think.
No, they're not very comfy for brush. I will say they're all very comfy for rapid, except maybe tower control ink blot, but I could be misreading that.
No, I think rapid's good. It's tower control. Rapid's always gonna have.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it'll be very interesting to see what weapons come out here. We are gonna see a pencil, so we are gonna see that rapid into pencil matchup, which I am very excited about. Personally, I think rapid just kind of defaults on top there.
Yeah, I think the rapid has a lot of say over how this game goes, but what needs to happen first is Samuel Whiskers needs to A, win a fight, and then B, they need to paint the map, because BADVXLLIAN's comp is fragile in that it doesn't have something that really wants to truly paint the map.
No, it doesn't. And it's just their S-Blast left up, who is rushing down Addison and manages to find them, but nasty direct. But Ice doing a great job of staying alive here. Oh, but not able to against Mox. If that blaster had not gotten that double, we'd be in such a different situation right now.
Yeah, like, and that just really goes to show how much the last person up can affect the game.
It really does. Addison's gonna get dropped on here. Does Addison know?
Addison knows.
Vaguely knows.
Addison has good awareness. And
seems like it.
Skills to back it up. They masterfully avoid the brush and still live. The only reason they end up going down is to Azuka from mid, and I'm not gonna fault you for going down to Azuka.
When you're dodging something, especially.
Yeah.
Especially on this map. This map's a little silly for Azuka.
Yeah. Like.
Oh, good special usage.
Yeah, fantastic special usage. Same Whiskers also flip zones. The ink brush did the ink brush thing of just going, yep, this is mine now.
And now Nex is saying this will continue to be ours, finding some picks along the way.
That push was so clean from Nex and the dualies, coming in from different angles to just make the pencil wish they were in a completely different time zone.
Yes. And another pick coming out from Nex. Nex doing a great job here of just kind of patrolling. Does go down to the blaster. Is a brush's general weakness, quite frankly.
Yeah. Especially when you're sitting under a ledge like that.
Yeah.
Like, the blaster is always going to have dominion of those ledges, and so Nex is going to have to be very careful with those positions, but Ice just decided they wanted to paint zone with their own downfall, so, you know, sure.
You know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But we are seeing points actively ticking away. Luckily, Samuel Whiskers, that's a quick zone flip. I gotta give it to him.
The crab tank was masterful. One of its, like, one right bumper on stack in combination with the rapid crow dropping, instantly cleared stack, and then another one on ramp, instantly cleared ramp, and then they flipped. But BADVXLLIAN not letting that fly.
Not at all. Mox using that Kraken to just shut everything down and now just getting in the face. But a direct from Addison gets Mox out of there. They're a little grouped up right now. They don't have pressure coming out from the right side. Addison gets rushed down and the splatter shot able to find a place behind everyone. Now just going to try and set up on this ledge. But I believe the brush is over there.
Ooh, fantastic. Next gets a really strong pick, but BADVXLLIAN is still very firmly in the driver's seat for this game. And Nex isn't going to be able to change that easily.
Not very. Yeah, and that's game. BADVXLLIAN doing an excellent job there of shutting down Samuel Whiskers at every opportunity. It kind of just felt like they were winning all of their fights.
Yeah. So
it didn't feel like they had masterful special usage. It felt like it was we can hit things better.
So there were glimmers of hope for Samuel, where they had a couple really clean pushes, but BADVXLLIAN, when the odds weren't overwhelmingly stacked against them, was doing more.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's like ultimately what it came down to is like BADVXLLIAN was the better team on average, but now we're moving out of the on average mode into the peaks and valleys modes.
Which it wouldn't surprise me if Samuel Whiskers is gonna take a game, it is probably going to be during Rainmaker or Clan Blitz.
Yeah, well, because the brush is going to switch to Sploosh.
Yes.
Right? That's going to happen, which is going to make their comp play much easily around the Rainmaker.
Yeah.
It leaves some flank pressure to be decided, but I think the Mako Mart game kind of showed
flank isn't always the move.
Yeah, they weren't having a ton of luck on the flanks anyway. So moving to a more central style where they group up slightly closer together and just pushes a unit might be the more effective strategy for them.
It definitely could be. They also need to keep that S-Blast from shutting down their rapid. That S-Blast had a number for Addison.
The S-Blast had their number in general.
Yes.
For everyone.
That's true. They were on their game.
Yeah, this S-Blast is very problematic if you're Samuel Whiskers.
Yes. It is kind of the antithesis of their comp.
Yes. And so long as the S-Blast is going to continue to do S-Blast things, they're going to have a hard time. But something I want to hit on. BADVXLLIAN switches to
the edit.
To the heavy edit, yes. And I think that is one of the best decisions they could possibly make.
Absolutely. Mox does manage to find the Rainmaker, but gets pushed out of there. Addison trying to pop this thing. Not rapid strong suit, but Nex was down. It was the only option. Cooler about to be out, having to dodge the Kraken, somehow dodging it.
Yeah, so the Kraken went after the Rainmaker. They took a calculated risk, and
it worked.
The math was just barely there.
Addison gonna try and keep it set up over here. Rapid's pretty good for that. They outrange everything right now. There's nothing trying to poke Addison out. So they're just gonna allow their teammates to come back in, try and keep that space. As the hammer comes out, next looking to find another win, able to find that fight, and this will be pop, and give it 2 seconds.
Pop and this will be checkpoint.
It should be checkpoint. I'm unconvinced it will be with the Zuka and the Blaster.
The Zuka coming out does put it does hamper my argument quite.
Yes. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Don't push down middle. Don't do it.
Not against the Rapid. It's not going to work against the Rapid.
Booyah coming out here is going to be really good. It's going to force Samuel to either drop in or all perish. And they decided to all perish.
Yeah, but at least Nex traded the Rainmaker, slowing them down for a second. This will be check. Unless the Stamper has a lot to say about it. Not quite in time. Close to in time.
The Stamper didn't, but the Stamp did.
Yeah. And that's Wipeout. We're going to be seeing Nex obviously grabbing. Sploosh loves to have that thing. That's its entire job, is pop the Rainmaker, grab the Rainmaker in this comp. Oh, don't go over there. Don't do that.
I will in this context, I actually don't hate it.
If the Blaster hadn't been there, I would agree. But luckily, the Blaster was in fact there.
Yeah, so what I'm going to give them the credit for trying to do was slow the game down a touch and pull people back into the center of the map before breaking left.
Yes.
Do we think that was their actual strategy? Don't know.
Maybe.
You'd have to go ask them yourself.
Maybe they just thought it was free checkpoint, which I also wouldn't blame them for. It did seem like it could be free.
Yeah. But it didn't quite work out for them, and now the S-Blast is about to do the S-Blast thing and probably get 2 kills.
At minimum. Booyah
Bomb
Bomb comes out. Yeah, Puma able to find that pick, living the Booyah Bomb, not able to escape the Mox, though.
Yeah, Mox is doing an incredible job of trading people back. Of always going, my teammate went down, but I'm gonna make it so you go down too.
Really great awareness there from the heavy edit to have that shot just lined up and ready to go, as we're seeing Bad Villain just knowing, okay, we got exactly past checkpoint. We just can never let them clear checkpoint, and we win. Which on this map is somewhat viable.
The heavy edit has said, I caught you out of position, I'm going to make a break for it. The only thing that would have made that better is if the curling they attempted to throw actually came out, but they did not have ink for it, and it slowed them down. But that play, Chef's Kiss, 10 out of 10, I love it.
Definitely a good attempt. Didn't quite work out for them, but it slowed down Samuel Whiskers, which is what their goal should be here. If Samuel Whiskers gets a push, it's going to be an explosive one. It'll be a big one. But right now it's looking like they're not going to find a push.
Yes, it is. It's looking like they're not going to find a push. One thing I will say, as we go towards, as the game starts to set, and we figure out who's doing what, I want the heavy edit to stop grabbing.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It doesn't matter if everyone dies on the other team.
The splatter shot I would kind of rather see grab in that setting. Yeah, and that's what having checkpoint cleared does on this map, because they got rid of the uninkable part for some reason, and I've never gotten over it.
Yeah, well, but so for the people who might not understand my reasoning why I don't want the heavy edit to pick up, the heavy edit is in charge of Bad Villain's turf control. So, and as we get later into the game, the turf control of the map becomes much more important because it prevents Samuel Whiskers from trying to counter push.
Yeah.
But it could also be argued that having them pick up is a good thing because the heavy edit would die first, and then they would respawn and go to their anchor position and hold in a very solid, firm, safe position. So it's personal preference. I would have liked to see someone else hold it, but they end up KOing, so I can't.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Too much. Yeah.
I can't see Clam Blitz going much better. It seems like there is just a bit. It happens pretty often with SOSs. Sometimes there are just kind of skill differences in these last few teams, which isn't even a bad thing. It's really good practice for both teams. It's really exciting. It's really interesting. It seems like Samuel Whiskers is just having a hard time into Bad Villain, which is probably in part them having the Octobrush.
So yeah, the Octobrush is doing a lot for Bad Villain, but also Samuel Whiskers and Bad Villain have similar play styles. And the Octobrush is kind of tipping, like compositionally, is tipping the favor towards Bad Villain. Also, the S-Blast.
Yes.
The S-Blast is getting so much value so consistently against Samuel Whiskers that it's hard for Samuel Whiskers to build up momentum. That was one of the things that they were, I don't want to say reliant on in the previous set we watched, but that was one of their strengths, is that they could build up momentum quickly and then use that momentum to put the other team on the back foot. But Bad Villain isn't allowing that to happen, and so Samuel Whiskers is just struggling a little bit.
Definitely, and we're seeing them, and right now we're just going to see the classic Clam Blitz situation of everyone fights in mid for a little bit, and that's okay. Addison does manage to find some, but it's 2v2. Wow, I've never said this in the opening of a Clam Blitz. This is a very normal Clam Blitz opening. Two teams kind of just vying for, wait, who actually has mid? And I think we're starting to escape that phase where Samuel Whiskers actually found mid first.
Yeah, so Samuel Whiskers still doesn't fully have mid, but they have the positions that can make mid theirs. So it doesn't really matter. The problem is they don't have clams. And that's in the mode named Clam Blitz, not having clams is kind of a really big deal.
It is.
So Samuel Whiskers is using a ton of resources to just kind of hold on.
Which is a waste of resources a little bit, unless your Ink Brush goes in and does that, and now you've got time.
Yeah, unless you Ink Brush it 2 for free,
Just for funsies, I guess. Puma gonna try and get in, but has to jump out quite quickly, managing to avoid the Kraken. Stamper gets taken out, just the rapid left up. Hopefully Addison backs off to somewhere safe. Seems like they are, but they're getting chased down by the S-Blast and the Octobrush. But now they're in rapid blaster position, where they can't be moved easily at all, quite frankly.
Yeah. And now that they're in their home, they're gonna have to leave again. Well, okay, I stand corrected. 2 people went down in mid, so Addison can stay in their strong defensive position. But the fight was looking very precarious for them.
It was. Luckily, one of their teammates was able to drop in, and 1 or 2 of their teammates was able to drop into mid and find those 2. And now Addison gets to play the Rapid Blaster game of I am poking. You cannot make me move until there's a Zuka. Addison does have to move for a Zuka.
Yeah, they do. The thing that I'm kind of questioning is, where is BADVXLLIAN's head? Because there was a bunch of time where Addison on the Rapid Pro was just kind of standing there and looking very, very pickable.
Extremely pickable. In the Rapid Pro position. Where, if you're a heavy edit, you can't answer to. But if you're a pen, you get to do that.
Yeah, so the pen has just decided to take over the game at this point, and now the question really becomes, will any of their players just decide to win the game by going and getting clams, or are they just going to all fight under basket?
It seems like we're going to go with fight under basket, which is a choice to make.
It is a choice, but, it's Clam Blitz, and not everyone can be a savant.
It is, you do have to do math in Clam Blitz. It's hard.
Math is hard.
Math is so hard.
Yeah, that's why I play Dungeons & Dragons, because there's no math, Smile. Anyway.
There's really not.
But yeah, BADVXLLIAN, with the pencil in mid, they're doing such a fantastic job of just constantly pressuring, and Samuel Whiskers doesn't really have a response. At some point, they're just going to have to drop in and try to make something happen, and it's going to be very unpleasant.
It almost feels like they're not getting off their chip damage as well as they are used to doing it. Because usually, Stamper Rapid is just kind of free picks for each other. They just reward each other so naturally, and it seems like they can't quite find the positions they want for that to get to happen.
Yeah. Samuel Whiskers' defense also seemed a little one-dimensional, not really utilizing their spawn area, their top, the defender's top left. And because of that, it was very hard for them to get back in. And now BADVXLLIAN is just back in the middle of the map with 45 seconds to go, and having 32 left on their scoreboard. Samuel Whiskers they're gonna have to start making desperation plays sooner rather than later, and it's probably not gonna be enough.
No, I will say at this point it seems like it really won't be. Mox is gonna have Kraken. There's nothing you can do about a Kraken.
No,
for some reason.
But the good thing is, there also isn't really anything the Kraken can do about it. If we're gonna be so honest, we just watched the Kraken swim around on their spinner and not accomplish a ton. The problem is that it was scary and limited a lot of mobility on the side of Samuel Whiskers. So now they need to build a power quickly, and who knows if that's even going to be possible. Yeah, they're moving, but again, they have to push to 30. That is a Herculean task.
And they've managed to find one, but it's just the Stamper up, and that's game.
Yep, and we get to watch it on the other side of the map as the BADVXLLIAN basket recedes back into its safe space, crowning them the champion of Swim or Sink 192.
And they played really, really well. They did a great job of having all of their players play into each other. I maybe would have liked to see the pencil more forward a good bit of the time, but they did an excellent job.
Well, so the pencil didn't need to move forward. That's one of the things, when it comes to playing a lot of Splatoon and playing competitively, a lot of people can overplay the game. Where they're like, I'm not getting a ton of value, let me make a decision and try to push something and push the envelope. And that's all well and good, but when you're already winning, you don't need to win more. It's like a binary situation, right?
That's fair.
and you can't push the binary, so you have to just kind of accept that, oh well, my teammate is having a really fantastic game this game. I'm gonna let them carry me, and then I'll just carry them next game, or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think there was that one situation with the Rapid where they could have taken out the Rapid, and that would have been a much bigger, faster push, and maybe we would have seen a KO potentially later in the game.
Yeah. But...
And there's nothing wrong with that. It worked out fine for them. They had it under control. But I liked the ideas of Samuel Whiskers' comp. It's just that Bad Villain had the same comp, but a little stronger.
Yeah. And... like, Samuel Whiskers performed well.
Yes.
Like, let's not pretend they didn't. Because they still got to finals, they got second, it might have been a 3-0, but...
But they got here.
Yeah, they got here, and, like, you can't win them all. And sometimes it's like that, it just happens like that. Sometimes
you place a player that's beaten Vanguard, and that's rough, quite frankly.
It is. So.
But really great gameplay coming out there from Bad Villain. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, let's shout out are the other brackets in yet? Can we shout out the winners of the other brackets? I'm gonna check right now. The other brackets do not appear to be in yet.
That is how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, Great White did move quite expeditiously.
It did. It was a very fast day, which is always nice on a weeknight. It's good. Yeah. I remember when this tournament used to run after midnight ET all the time. Always great when it doesn't. And it never does anymore.
But, yeah, I think... Oh, wait, Hammerhead. The winner of Hammerhead... What you are 3-1 over is it 12 Arcana?
Yeah, that's 12.
Yeah. Sorry, my Roman numerals are a bit rusty. But and then yeah. Is that yeah. So but it has been a wild Wednesday night.
Yes.
And I think it's time for us to sign off.
Likely is. Hope everyone goes to bed at a reasonable hour. Hope everyone gets some good sleep. And has a great night. Raze, where can they find you if you would like to be found anywhere?
You can find me on Blue Sky. That is really the only place. Raze, what is my Raze TBH .bluesky.social. And I mostly just retweet LAN news.
That's what matters. And you can find me at NoxRaven42 on Blue Sky and YouTube. I do interviews with top players. Feel free to check them out.
Yeah, and then go follow and subscribe to IPL. Look at our YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, follow us on all those fun platforms.
Also, if you haven't signed up for the Splatoon World Series qualifiers, do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're gonna, if you don't sign up, you're gonna want to watch it. It will be a good time. I promise. It will be quality.
I mean, it's the Splatoon World Series qualifiers. How could it not be?
Yeah, exactly. They've been cooking it up for a while, so.
They have, and it's, having the chance at the World Series champion is a big deal.
It is. But I think with that, it is time for us to bow and exit the stage.
Yes.
Have a good night, everybody.